Instead of streaming an L5R game, we're actually going to be streaming Star Wars Legion here. This is a new miniatures game from Fantasy Flight, and there's already a community playing this game on Tabletop Simulator. So this is a stream of the Invader League on Tabletop Simulator, and we have Tezrial on the Imperials versus STABcast Ryan on the Rebels. So taking a quick look, basically, for those of you who haven't played this is a miniatures game similar to Warhammer 40k, and what that means is you have units that you're going to be moving around on a table in real life, and in Tabletop Simulator, you're of course moving them around on here. Your units can like hide behind terrain to get cover. You know, there's some terrain that will slow you down, like this river is difficult terrain and will slow down your units trying to cross it. And two armies are facing off, and let's take a quick look at the scenario, which is going to be shown over here. So the objective for this mission is breakthrough. At the end of the game, each player gains 1 victory token for each of their unit leaders within an enemy deployment zone. So your objective is basically to push your guys through to the enemy areas by the end of the game on turn 6. The deployment is major offensive, which is like this, kind of a table quarters deployment with a little gap there to prevent you from getting too close to the enemy. And we have the hostile environment. Trooper units whose unit leader is not in base contact with a piece of terrain cannot remove suppression tokens during the end phase. So basically what this means is that troopers in this game take suppression tokens, which can limit their ability to do actions and can eventually even make them run away. Normally you clear one at the end of the turn, but under this mission you're only going to clear, or under this condition, you're only going to clear them in the event that you're touching terrain. Normally you want to touch terrain anyway for cover, so that's, you know, something that you want to be doing, but that's the way it goes. Okay, so taking a quick look here, we're going to look at the armies being chosen here. So this game uses a points system like many other miniatures games, and what that means is that each thing that you take costs a certain amount of points. And so the way that that works is that like if you look at the Darth Vader card here, you can see that in the top left under the Imperial symbol it says 200. So Darth Vader costs 200 points. That's a large number of points. You have 800 points in total. So Vader alone is a quarter of your army before you take upgrades. Then you might take upgrades like this card. You can see 15 on the bottom right, so that costs 15 points. You might look at a unit of Stormtroopers. They cost 44 points, but you get 4 of them. So each Stormtrooper costs 11 points relative to Darth Vader's 200. But as you might imagine, the Stormtroopers are a lot worse than Darth Vader. So looking at what each player has chosen to buy with their 800 points, we see that the Imperial player has a infantry-focused list. So they have Darth Vader himself. He has Force Reflexes, which gives him a dodge token for defense. And this can be used every turn in conjunction with his Master of the Force ability, which allows you to use it, which exhausts it, but then you just ready it and use it again, so that's pretty sweet. He has Saber Throw, which is basically gives him a ranged attack. Normally he's melee only, but this lets him do some damage before he gets into hand-to-hand combat. And he has Force Push, which allows you to move enemy units around. This can be especially good on objective missions by pushing enemy units off the objective. You can also use it, because it doesn't say you have to move them away from you, you can use it more like a Force Pull and send the enemy towards you. So he then has, looks like 6 squads of Stormtroopers, which is the maximum. You can have up to 6 core units in your army. So his Stormtrooper squads, these are just basic Imperial infantry. And so they have bad attack, decent defense, and they have some, but they do have some nice upgrades. So 4 of his squads have the extra Stormtrooper, making them 5-man squads base instead of 4. The same 4 squads that have the extra trooper, actually every single one of his squads has the DLT-19 Stormtrooper. That's a heavy weapon upgrade. This guy rolls 2 red dice instead of 1 white die, which makes him vastly more powerful than a normal Stormtrooper. In point of fact, if you do out the math, the DLT-19 Stormtrooper contributes almost as much firepower as 5 normal Stormtroopers. He does 1/8 fewer wounds than 5 normal Stormtroopers do. So this guy is really a boss and really adds, it's a very versatile weapon. It's long range, it can go all the way out to range 4. And it has impact 1, which means that it can do some damage to armor as well. So this is a very versatile and effective weapon, probably the best heavy weapon in the game right now. And as a result, we see that Tezriel's equipped it to all his units. 2 of the units have concussion grenades, which upgrade your white attack die to a black attack die at close range and ignore cover. And 2 of them have impact grenades, which also upgrade your white attack die to a black attack die and let you change hits to crits, giving you more damage against vehicles. So then there are 2 squads that have no grenades and no extra man. They just have the additional, they just have the DLT-19 Stormtrooper I was discussing earlier. And to top it all off, he has 1 unit of Z4Z speeder bikes, which are very fast, weaker defensively than most Imperial units, but have surprisingly good damage output as well. And it looks like the players are beginning to do stuff in the game, so we can see here these circles are being drawn to measure range. That's the way that range is measured in this game. This is an extremely well-made tabletop simulator mod, and I have to give credit to its creator. And it's just really well made. The creator is a guy named Tyrion, and he's done a great job producing this mod. So we're gonna go over to the Rebel list. As we can see, the Rebel list has many more units than the Imperials. The Imperials had 8 units, and the Rebels have 10. And that is because the Rebel units tend to be a little less powerful. So let's take a quick look at what the Rebels have brought to the field. We see Princess Leia here. So she is, and sorry for the low resolution on this picture. It's based from, you know, publicity photos and not like complete. This card is not out yet in real life, but they've brought it to Tabletop Simulator early. So this is not what the card will look like in real life, of course. So Leia has, Leia is a lot weaker than Darth Vader, but she has a pretty strong shooting attack. She can ignore cover. She can inspire your nearby units to remove suppression from them. And she can also basically give... She has a special action, which is Take Cover, which allows her to give out dodge tokens to nearby friendly units. So she could give a dodge token to herself and to another unit, or just to 2 other units. This is very useful for her in helping keep those rebels alive. And she also has Nimble, which allows you to keep the dodge token after you use it, so it's basically a way to further improve your defense. He's given Leia the Esteemed Leader upgrade, which means that nearby troopers can take hits for her if she gets shot at. It's a useful card to take for Leia, since she is a lot weaker defensively than Darth Vader. So he then has a swarm of Rebel troopers. So we see it looks like 6 full Rebel trooper squads, each of which has... So Rebel troopers are a little better offensively than Stormtroopers, but a little weaker defensively, and they also cost slightly less. And they have Nimble, which means after defending, if you spent 1 or more dodge tokens, gain a dodge token, lets them defend better. So we do see they have the extra Rebel Trooper upgrade. They have the Z6, which is like a minigun. It provides strong but inconsistent anti-infantry firepower by adding a lot of the worst die available. And they all look to have the impact grenades to provide some anti-tank support. Unfortunately, these impact grenades, since Tezrial didn't bring any armored targets, the impact grenades in these Rebel Troopers are going to be wasted. But additionally to those Rebel Troopers, he has brought 3 AT-RTs, which are light walker units, and each AT-RT is equipped with a flamethrower. So the flamethrower is incredibly powerful against infantry, but requires you to get very close before firing it, and we'll see whether or not Ryan can pull that off. So we have kind of different styles of list. We have kind of the anti-tank infantry plus the anti-infantry vehicles from the Rebels. And the Imperials just have a lot of infantry. They got the power of Darth Vader, and they have the speeder bikes to provide maybe some flanking and support. So it looks like the first shots are being fired. And damage is dealt to one of these AT-RTs here. So the AT-RTs have a lot of health. Normal troopers die in 1 hit in this game, but the AT-RTs do not. So these areas that are delineated in red and blue are the deployment zones. Because the objective is to get your guys into the enemy deployment zones, they've kept them active into the game. Normally these are actually disabled because it looks better with them off, but I think they want them on to show where the objectives are going to be. Alright, so we have a comment here. Biggins13 says, I think the Leia player really messed up. I don't see another chance the player will get to use her bombardment. Yeah, so each commander comes with some different command cards. And the different command cards let you do different things. So one of them from Leia allows you to do an artillery strike that has range 4. Or it actually has minimum range 4, and you can hit 3 different units with it. I actually don't agree with you, Riggins. I think he'll get a chance to do the bombardment next turn. I could be wrong, but I think he went for the standing orders here, the slowest card possible, in order to try to slow his roll and bring up those AT-RTs only after some of the Imperials had moved up and would not be in range. I do think there may be some slight deployment issues, though, because I'm looking at things like this AT-RT unit here. I think this is not deployed in a good position because it will have to move through his own units unless these guys move first. And typically displacing your own units is negative. I would have put the AT-RTs on the front, especially because they have the flamethrowers, and advanced the Rebel Troopers behind them, so the Rebel Troopers can get cover from the AT-RTs, and the AT-RTs are as threatening as possible with their flame attack. On the other hand, Vader is actually pretty scary, even against big vehicles, so it's possible that he's worried about Vader taking down his AT-RTs. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. The Rebel army quite outnumbers the Imperials, even just when you consider their basic troopers. But Vader is really going to be a crucial linchpin in this game because he really does provide so much. He really does provide so much power himself that the Imperial player is, if they can use him effectively, is going to do a lot of damage to the Rebels. And by the same token, if they don't use him effectively, the Rebels are really going to, I think, come out on top here. So we're seeing another Rebel Trooper unit moving up. The way this mod works is very automated and very well produced. When you activate a unit, this thing here comes up and shows you some different options. So you can, clicking those buttons allows you to do different actions. So there he clicked move and then dodge. So when you click dodge, one of these green dodge tokens comes in from the side of the board. And when he clicked move, it spawned the movement ruler for his commander and allowed him to move up, and that allowed him to move up and do that in a very automated way without having to measure using the tabletop simulator rulers or anything like that. So it looks like the Imperial player has activated now Darth Vader. Darth Vader has the downside of being slow. He only moves at speed 1. I suspect what we're going to see is just 2 moves from Vader straight ahead, and he'll probably use his Force Reflexes to get a free dodge token. If the Rebels can bring down Vader, they stand a very good chance here. I think that the AT-RTs with Flamers are extremely strong against the Imperial infantry, and I'm not sure that the Imperials have enough anti-tank to deal with the 3 AT-RTs without Vader, but Vader can basically do a lot of damage to any of them, really, himself. As I predicted, we do see 2 moves forward plus a dodge token. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, looking at this battle, we're going to the Rebels. The Rebels are activating Leia, or maybe they're not trying to activate Leia. They have activated her card, but it could be a mistake. So, doing some quick range measurements there. Seeing if she is within range 2 to remove the suppression from the troopers on the left. She is not. So she's giving a dodge token to each of these Rebel Trooper squads with her first action. And I suspect, I don't know, if I were this player, I would probably want to move up. I think Leia's got to get in close, and this scenario is based on getting into the enemy zone. So it makes sense to move her up the field. And it does look like that's what we're seeing. Maybe try to keep her within these woods to get some cover against enemy shooting. You don't have to move the full distance on the template, so she could move all the way out to there, but it may be that she's actually not going to. And it looks like he is going to move the full distance. Leia and Vader kind of charging towards each other here. And that does make sense because Leia's attack is actually very strong because she ignores cover completely, and she also ignores the first successful save an opponent makes. So this game uses a similar dice rolling system to Warhammer 40k or other miniatures games, where first you roll some dice to see how much damage you do, and then the defending player rolls some dice to see if they can save any of your damage and prevent it. So the Rebel Troopers in this game have good attack dice but bad defense dice, or they have decent attack dice but bad defense dice, and the Stormtroopers have bad attack dice but better defense dice. And additionally, each unit is better at an action that complements their weakness. So Stormtroopers get more benefit from the aim action, which helps them mitigate their inaccuracy. And Rebel Troopers get more benefit from the dodge action, which helps them mitigate their weak armor. So it looks like these Stormtroopers are moving up and are probably going to shoot at those Rebel Troopers over there. As you can see, these different these different rings here represent different range bands. So this white one here is range 1, this black one is range 2, the red one is range 3, and the yellow one is range 4. So the way that that works is each range band is, I believe, just 6 inches in real life. And as a result of that, this is basically a way to just display that on Tabletop Simulator more quickly. So we are seeing them shoot at these Rebel troopers. Or no, we're seeing the heavy weapon split fire to shoot at the AT-RT. It does 1 damage to it with impact. AT-RT has to make a save, which it fails. And then we're seeing 5 white dice being sent against those troopers. And we're seeing only 1 result, but it's a critical, so it does go through cover and dodge. The Rebels have to make a save, and they pass it. So the way these dice work is there are multiple different types, as you can see here. There's the black D8, the red D8, and the white D8. Those are for attacks. And there's a white and red die for defense. And to provide more differentiation than just these types of dice, in addition to the hits, crits, and blocks that are on the attack and defense dice respectively, there's also a special icon called a surge. And units either do or don't get results from surges depending on what unit it is. For example, the white die has 1 block, 1 surge, and 4 blanks. So a unit that has a white defense die with a defensive surge can succeed 1/3 of the time, but a unit without it will succeed 1/6 of the time. Similarly, a white attack die has 1 hit, 1 crit, 1 surge, and 5 blanks, which means that a unit attacking with it is going to, if they don't have it, they will succeed 2 out of 8 or 1/4 of the time, and if they do have it, they will succeed 3 out of 8, 3/8 of the time. So that provides a little extra differentiation, and actually you can just sort of add them up. So white die without surge, white attack die without surge succeeds 2/8, with surge 3/8. Black attack die without surge 4/8. Black attack die with surge 5/8, red die without surge, red attack die without surge 6/8, red attack die with surge 7/8. And then the defense dice are white defense die without surge 1/6, with surge 2/6, red defense die without surge 3/6, aka a half, and red attack die, red defense die with surge 4/6, aka 2/3. So they've really allowed themselves to create some more differentiation with these special dice, while also having crits and similar mechanics. Additionally, some units have special benefits from surges. For instance, Rebel trooper units, Rebel AT-RT walkers have attack surge, but instead of surging into a hit, they actually surge into a crit. So that provides them with some extra power. Crits go through cover and dodge, and they are needed to deal damage to armored vehicles. So the way that works in this game, if your unit has cover, they can either have light cover or heavy cover. A unit with heavy cover ignores the first 2 hits against it from each attack. A unit with light cover ignores the first hit against it from each attack, but crits go through. And a dodge token, similar to cover, you can spend it to ignore a hit. So a Rebel Trooper squad, if they have heavy cover and they're dodging, they ignore the first 3 hits, but a crit, even if you only get like 1 crit, that will get through, despite a large number of hits being blocked. We now seen Rebels shooting at those Imperials. So the Rebels here are going to roll 3 hits and 1 crit. So you can see the results up here. This symbol means surge. This is block. This is defense. This is defensive surge. So we have 3 hits and 1 crit. Rebel troopers do not have an attack surge, so that does not go through. And they're shooting at these troopers over here who are in heavy cover, so they ignore 2 hits and roll 2 saves. But they fail both, so 2 Stormtroopers are going to be eliminated from that squad there. Rebel trooper squads have quite strong offensive output, but they are inconsistent, because they have a heavy weapon that rolls 6 white dice. That's the Z6, which is very commonly fielded. Let's zoom in here. This is a nice thing about Tabletop Simulator. Yeah, so if you see, we have like a bunch of Rebel troopers, and then we have this one guy here with kind of a minigun-looking weapon. That weapon is the Z6 rotary blaster, and that's the one that rolls 6 white dice. So every trooper rolls 1 black die from this squad, and then the 1 heavy weapon rolls more dice than the entire rest of the squad, but his dice are significantly weaker. The black attack die without a surge will hit half the time, and the white attack die without a surge will hit, I believe, 1/4 of the time. So his dice are half as good. Even though he has more of them, however, he has enough more of them that it can create situations where you can get really lucky. Like, I've fired the Z6 before and gotten all 6 hits, and that becomes pretty scary pretty fast. On the other hand, I've also fired it several times and gotten 0 hits. The Imperial player is moving up and continuing to split fire, firing his white dice against this squad and his red dice from his heavy weapon at the AT-RT. This AT-RT's already taken 2 wounds. Let's see if he can do another wound to it. So he rolls 2 surges. They turn into hits. Normally this wouldn't affect a vehicle because this is an armored vehicle. But if you look at this card, it has impact 1. While attacking a unit that has armor, change up to 1 hit to a crit. So this can essentially do 1 damage pretty consistently, and indeed it does. This AT-RT has now taken 3 wounds. Now we're seeing the white dice being rolled, 5 white dice against the squad. And they pick up 1 hit, which will be saved by cover or dodge, and 2 crits, which will go through. So that's a lucky roll for the Imperials, and these Rebels will have to roll 2 saves. They pass 1 of them, so they'll lose another trooper. In addition, they will take another suppression. They've taken 2 suppressions already, and this will be the 3rd one. It's pretty commonplace for players of this game to kind of move their models off behind the board once they've been eliminated. So as you can see, 2 Stormtroopers and 2 Rebel Troopers have been killed. Low casualties at first, but we have seen some damage on this AT-RT as well, and there are still, of course, many units left to activate. The Rebels have 6 more units to use this turn. So it looks like the Imperials are making a strong attack up this side and maybe trying to... So it could be the Imperials are trying to kind of swoop in like this and attack this edge of the Rebel deployment area. We see them a lot of focus being paid to this Rebel Trooper squad. And these Stormtroopers can easily go here. Additionally, Vader is coming down the middle and threatening. The Rebel Troopers over here are looking maybe a bit out of position with respect to where the Imperials are. They may have to move quickly to get back into the fight. So it looks like the Rebels are deciding to use this AT-RT. So this unit has taken significant damage and is now going to be moving. Hopefully to get engaged with the Imperial opponents. So he's trying to see whether or not I think his vehicle will overlap. It looks like it doesn't. It might on that edge, but you know, they might be playing loose with it. So he needs to be within range 1 to shoot his flamethrower. He also has a rifle which is much less powerful, but can be shot at longer range. It looks like he's just going to move twice. So this AT-RT is just rushing forward here. Probably his goal is going to be, if they don't manage to kill me, I'm going to be able to use my flamethrower next turn and really blast that squad. So by moving his AT-RT forward aggressively like this, he's sort of forcing the Imperial player to respond. However, we know the Imperials still have their speeder bike unit, and the speeder bike unit might be able to finish off this AT-RT. They have pretty strong guns against vehicles. So looking at the speeder bike unit card, they each have the AX-20 blaster cannon, which rolls 1 of each die, and it has impact 1, allowing you to convert 1 hit to a crit. Because there's 2 bikes that each have that weapon, you would roll 2 of every die, and you would have impact 2. That attack has a decent chance of doing 2 or even more damage to the AT-RT. And I think we're going to see the Imperial player going for it now to try to finish that unit off before it can potentially roast some of these Stormtroopers with its flamethrower. So yeah, here come the speeder bikes. They are in range very easily. And so the speeder bikes have the speeder rule, which forces a compulsory move. And so they are taking their compulsory move and then shooting. They have another action as well. They should use it to aim. They may have done that and just not used the token. So we see 1 crit and 1 surge, which turns to a hit, and 1 other hit. So that's going to be 2 hits and a crit, and the 2 hits will be turned into crits by the impact 2. So he has to take 3 saves, and he fails them all. Since it's already taken 3 damage, the AT-RT only has 6 health, and that's it for the AT-RT. He's dead. So I do think that moving the AT-RT forward that early may have been premature, and we did see it get destroyed pretty easily by focused fire from all these Imperial units. You know, the AT-RT may be an armored unit, but it really doesn't have the resilience to take on a bunch of firepower from the Imperials, especially if they are splitting fire like we saw here, using their basic weapons to suppress and damage these Rebel Troopers while using their heavy weapons to plink away by the AT-RT. This is sort of an approach that I call death by 1,000 cuts. you know, you're firing a lot of smaller weapons, and each one is only going to do 1 or 2 damage, but when you do enough of them, that's going to destroy the target, and that's indeed what we saw with this ATRT getting taken down quickly by a lot of weapons that only had impact 1. There are like heavy cannons and missile launchers and stuff in this game that have like impact 3, but in this case, the Imperial player was able to deal with that ATRT just fine, just by using a large number of weapons with basic impact 1. So that was a poor showing for that ATRT. On the plus side, he did draw a lot of firepower, and it's possible the Rebels do still have many units left to activate, and it's possible that will give them a chance to respond. So we're seeing Rebel troopers moving forward aggressively here. I can only imagine this is to try to contest the midfield more here. They are facing a little trouble with this Imperial flanking maneuver, though. I'm not sure how they're going to get out of that. Especially with these squads over here. These squads may have to take 2 move actions to just get into the field, while the Imperials have been able to like move up once with these squads while still firing their weapons at that ATRT. So they essentially got to do a little bit of extra damage. So they were assisted in that by the fact that the Imperial weapons have more range. The Rebel troopers have range 1 to 3, as you can see in the bottom right there under A280 blaster rifle, and their Z6 heavy weapon also only has range 1 to 3. However, the Imperial troopers, while they may have range 1 to 3 on their basic guys, as you can see with E11 blaster rifle, range 1 to 3 on the basic guys, but range 1 to 4 on the DLT-19, a very strong heavy weapon, and that has enabled them to take pot shots as they move in and ultimately do some serious damage. Alright, so another Imperial trooper squad is moving up. It looks like they are barely in range of these Rebel troopers. Though, okay, it looks like they can only kind of see like one guy behind that tree. So this game does have line of sight, which you do by just looking from behind the firing model, so they can see, you know, this Rebel trooper leader is visible, but the rest of the squad is pretty concealed. So if they actually do this and fire on that squad, they can only inflict 1 casualty. It looks like they've chosen to fire their heavy weapon at this squad that's in the open, and perhaps fire their other weapons towards this squad in order to get more dice. So the long-range heavy weapon can shoot at these guys. They do have a dodge token which will allow them to ignore at least 1 hit. But the heavy weapon can easily deal 2. It has 2 red dice with attack surges, which means that you, on average, will be doing 14/8 hits. Very strong attack. And then, as you can see, he's going into kind of a conga line formation. You can see through other models, so now all his models can at least see that one guy on the edge. So first we're doing the red dice. That inflicts 2 hits on this squad, but they do have a dodge which will mitigate 1 of those hits. Or maybe he shot... Did they have cover as well? I'm curious as to why he's not rolling 1. Maybe they had cover. Oh yeah, I guess they maybe had cover from this bridge or something. I'm not entirely sure, but that's okay. And he has to roll 1 save for these guys. They take 2 hits and a crit, but the 2 hits are canceled. He has to roll 1 save, and he does make it. So this squad is getting even more suppressed. They now have 4 suppression on them, and this squad has 1. However, this squad has done a good job of holding out under the firepower, but I think their position may prove to be a bit imprudent given the large amount of stuff that can focus on them from the left, much of which is likely going to be able to ignore their cover. I think those guys are in big trouble. Alright, we see another Rebel Trooper squad activate, but those Rebel Trooper squads out on this side are well out of position, and I think they're going to probably have to move up twice if they want to be in a good position for next turn. We might see a situation where the players kind of trade flanks. The right flank here is much stronger for the Rebel player than the Imperial, with all these infantry squads, and the left flank is much stronger for the Imperial than the Rebel. So it could be that the 2 sides basically just trade, and the Rebels swoop up through here and towards the Imperial zone, while the Imperials swoop up through here and towards the Rebel zone. If so, it'll be interesting to see which side can get more units in the opponent's deployment zone at the end of the game. I do think that the Rebels are actually advantaged for that, for the simple reason that the Rebels have more squads. However, they have also been taking more damage. Both sides have lost a few troopers, but the Rebels have additionally lost an ATRT, and I'm not sure how much more damage they're going to get to do this turn, given that most of their squads that could be in range have already activated. This could also show a mistake in activation order. When your troopers come up, it's good practice to activate the guys that are least relevant and least likely to be shot at. So these guys activated early on and then took a lot of firepower. It might have been better to activate these guys over here early on, move them up. The Imperials are unlikely to be in range anyway. And that way, once after they've moved up here, then you can move these guys forward and maybe engage them. Or you could see how much forces the Imperials are sending here and maybe stay behind this barricade and just dodge and shoot or something. So it looks like the Imperials on this side are also moving up. I'm not sure this is wise for similar reasons. If I was the Imperial commander, I would maybe consider just keeping my guys behind this barricade for the heavy cover and aiming and shooting at the oncoming rebels. But he's sending his squad forward. And that is going to put them in range of several rebel squads, so they are in range of all three of these, and I can imagine they're probably going to be shooting at this one since it's not in cover. It does have a dodge, and it does have a suppression, though, and having one suppression token, while it does make it so that your unit is possibly going to not do anything, it also gives you cover. So let's see here. Okay, so they are pinging this unit. That unit's actually going to be the target. So that unit will have light cover from these woods, probably, and will have... Actually, I think they might have heavy cover from that big tree. It could be that they're splitting fire for more suppression. It could also be that they're going to shoot their heavy weapon at this ATRT and try to damage that one in a similar fashion. The other downside to moving these troopers up is that this ATRT can kind of surge forward through this gap and will likely be in a position to threaten the flamethrower against those red troopers next turn. Looks like he's kind of deciding what to shoot at. He may be shooting actually even at the purple troopers, who have certainly been the victims of a lot of attention from the Imperials on this first turn. Though they will have at least cover 1 for being suppressed, and they have a dodge token so they can negate the first 2 hits. Okay, so it looks like he is doing the heavy weapon on the ATRT, similar tactic to what he was using before, and the light weapons are going to fire at these blue guys, because the blue guys are in the open. They will get cover 1 from having a suppression token, and they do have a dodge token given to them by Leia earlier, so it's possible that the blue guys will not take that much damage from this attack, but we'll have to see. I'm not entirely sure what the players are talking about here. I think they're talking... Oh, they're seeing whether or not the ATRT has cover. I think he does have cover. So as you can see, this goes through these woods, so it would give him 1 cover, which means that if the attack only rolls 1 hit, it will be canceled before it can turn into a crit and get through to put some damage on that ATRT. I am actually assembling, I'm working on assembling some physical Star Wars Legion models while doing this broadcast. So I'm kind of doing extra Legion content today, though the assembly process is uninteresting and will not make it onto stream, given that it is mostly me like cutting little pieces with a knife to eliminate mold lines and so on. I actually really like some of the hobby aspects that miniatures games provide, and in some respects I consider it more interesting than the games themselves, honestly, for some of them. The Legion is actually quite a good game. Okay, so we do roll 2 hits. The 1 save fails. It gets a surge, but ATRTs don't have defense surges. And then 4 white dice on the squad only gets 1 hit, so it'll be saved by dodge, but they will take a cover. Or, I'm sorry, they will take a suppression. Meanwhile, I am scraping a mold line out off of the arm of one of my speeder biker pilots. I do think this Imperial player is using some good tactics. The AT-RTs are extremely dangerous up close, so putting some damage on them early on can be a good strategy. They have very powerful weapons, but very weak defenses. There's actually multiple weapon options you can give to the AT-RT. So this guy's using the Flamer, which is probably the most powerful, but also the riskiest in that it requires you to get in really close and expose yourself to a bunch of firepower. My own style with the AT-RTs, I tend to use AT-RTs that have, instead of the flamethrower, they have a heavy cannon, which provides them with some anti-vehicle firepower, and also it has range 4, which allows them to kind of sit back and shoot from outside of the range of many enemy weapons, which does mitigate their defensive weakness to at least some extent. However, they are still far from resilient units, especially against Imperials, who tend to feature more of the heavy impact weapons than Rebels do at this time. Alright, so it looks like a Rebel Trooper unit is firing on those Stormtroopers. They score 2 hits and a crit. 1 will probably be saved by cover, so that will be 2 saves for the Stormtroopers. Yep, 2 red defense dice getting rolled, and 1 succeeds, 1 fails, so a Stormtrooper will be picked off. I do think it was a little unwise to move those Stormtroopers up there like that. I think it's going to expose them to a lot of firepower that they could have avoided. It might have been better to just hang back and hold the line, but I could be wrong, and the scenario is based on getting into the enemy deployment, so it's possible that the Imperial player just wants to exert as much aggressive pressure as possible with his units moving up the board. AT-RT moving up. So he's going to move once, and I think he's then going to probably move again, though he could shoot the rifle that the pilot has. Nope, he's going straight for him. So this AT-RT, if it doesn't get killed very quickly indeed next turn, is going to be able to fire its flamethrower and deal some substantial damage to those Stormtroopers. I do think that keeping those Stormtroopers further back might have been the safer option, but we'll have to see how that goes. He has taken 1 damage from the Stormtroopers themselves, and it's possible that if more Imperial weapons can be brought to bear against that AT-RT, they could take it out before it can do too much damage to him. However, I have to say I think that AT-RT is probably going to do some major damage. You never know, though. We'll have to see how it goes. So then it looks like the Imperial player has activated all of their units at this time. So we are seeing another AT-RT. He seems to have gone into backwards mode by mistake. He needs to push this button to move forwards. Vehicles can reverse in this game. So if you look at the base of one of these vehicles, let's use the speeder bike because there's not activation, you'll see this little divot here. The way that movement in this game works for vehicles is you put the movement template into this base, and that determines what angles they can move at. Vehicles have to respect firing arcs, and they can't turn freely like other units can. Wow, it looks like another AT-RT is going into... He's moving through this river, which is going to slow him down as he moves into kind of the same area where his teammate got destroyed by all these Imperials. I'm not sure that's going to go much better for this guy, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that turns out. And he's getting slowed down and only moving at speed 1, as indicated by the smaller ruler, thanks to the presence of that river, which is difficult terrain, I believe, for all units, including AT-RTs. Alright, that's going to be it for the first turn. So after the first turn, 2 Rebel Troopers died in addition to an AT-RT. and 1 damage was put on this ATRT. However, the Rebels killed 3 Stormtroopers. So the Imperials certainly did more damage on that first turn, but we'll have to see what the Rebels do with their counterattack. It looks like the players may have forgotten to remove suppression tokens here. Given that this squad still has 4, that squad still... Oh no, they didn't forget. This is that scenario where suppression tokens are not removed unless you're touching terrain, so this squad is still very suppressed. We see an ambush here. I suspect that means this ATRT is going to come out to play. Ambush is a command card that has only 1 pip, as you see in the top left, which means that it has very high priority to go first. Imperial's also trying to ambush, both players trying to go first, with the Rebels probably trying to get this ATRT to fire before the Imperials can do much. In this case, you roll a red defense die. If it's a hit, one player goes first. If not, the other. We do see a hit, which means the Imperial player will be the first one to act, and he's activating those troopers that are in danger from the ATRT, probably hoping that he can get them out of there before it destroys them. And let's see what the Rebel trooper chooses to activate. If I were the Rebel player, I would still choose the ATRT. I don't think those troopers are going to be able to get away, and even if they do get away, the ATRT can probably move up and attack these green troopers instead. So we'll have to see just what happens, but I think this ATRT is going to get some powerful shots off this turn, one way or another. What unit will the Rebel player choose to activate? They've rewound time. Reloading much of the board. This is a feature on Tabletop Simulator. It usually gets used if there's some kind of misclick, which may be what we're seeing here. Okay, so they're redoing something. Can't quite tell what it is. Oh, and it loaded from the other perspectives. That's panned back to what we were looking at. Okay, yeah, so we're seeing... Okay, the command tokens are stuck together. They're probably locked. He has to tap L. He's measuring range to make sure he's still in range of Leia. He is in range of Leia. I'm going to try to warn these guys. You're not really supposed to comment as a streamer in this tournament, but given that this is an interface bug and not any sort of game suggestion, I think it's fine. The tokens may be locked together for reasons yet to be determined. There we go. Alright, so that ATRT is indeed going to be the unit that the Rebel player is activating. The rest will be random. And we'll have to see how this goes. I do think that the ATRT there is going to do some major damage to this Imperial, to one unit of Imperial Stormtroopers or another. But the Imperials did win the roll-off, so they are going to be able to use their larger unit. See if it clears its suppression. It does not. So as a suppressed unit, they only get 1 action. So they have to choose. Are they going to run or are they going to shoot? If they stand still, that ATRT has them for sure. If they run away, it probably still has them. It's faster than them. They both have movement speed too, but movement is from front to back, and the ATRT has a much bigger base. I don't think they can escape. Oh, you know what? That squad has anti-tank grenades, and they're going to throw them. So this actually might stop the ATRT now that I think about it. Let's see if they can pull it off. Throwing the anti-tank grenades. Wow, a huge number of hits. They have 5 hits? Or do they have the concussion grenades? Which squad is this? Yeah, they have anti-tank grenades. I think that ATRT might actually die. So it's only taken 1 wound, but now it takes 5 more, since this attack has a huge amount of impact from those grenades. I hadn't realized that they had those, and that definitely makes this situation a lot more interesting. We'll see. The ATRT only needs to roll 1 save to live, however. Can he do it? Wow, he rolls 4 saves. That is completely crazy. These are 1 in 6 saves, and he just passed 4 out of 5. That is totally ludicrous. So the Imperial player did manage to get the initiative and might have managed to bring down that ATRT thanks to his impact grenades, but amazing rolls from the Rebel player prevented that outcome. It only takes 1 damage from this attack, and it's now in a great position to barbecue that squad. Boy, what a result. It's now the Rebel player's activation. I can only imagine he wants to ATRT. Let's see what he does with it. So the ATRT flamethrower rolls 2 black dice for every enemy model in the target unit that it can see. And in this position, I think you look from behind the model's head. I don't think he can quite see that one guy. So I think he can see 4 models, and he would roll 8 black dice. But he could also move up before attacking to get the extra 2 dice. And that's probably what I would do, since it would also put him in a better position. Just move up a little bit to like there. And that will also have this tree shielding him from shots from the this flank to at least some degree. But let's see what he chooses to do. When you activate a unit in this game, it gets 2 actions. So one of them can be move. What? So he pinged 2 different units for some reason. We are unfortunately not allowed to intervene as streamers, even if there are rules mistakes, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But if it's something bad, we cannot tell the players not to do it, though I could, of course, tell you guys. Yeah, so he is moving this guy up. What? Oh, yeah, so vehicles can move through infantry. So his vehicle is moving up and displacing these guys, which means that they get placed. That also gives them a suppression. Interestingly, it moves the unit out of his firing arc. Oh, but he's going to go for the green troopers instead because they haven't activated. That's probably what's going to happen here. So the ATRT charging even further forward into the Imperial lines. He's taken some damage. But now he's going to try to blast those green troopers with 8 dice, 2 for each trooper. And let's see how much damage he can do. That's 5 dice, so there's more saves than troopers for that green squad. Maybe the Imperial player can roll some lucky saves to make up for those Rebel lucky saves, though, and keep some members of his squad alive. On average, he should lose 2.5 of these. Let's see what actually happens. He saves 3. Okay, so 2 guys from the green squad will be killed. That leaves just the leader and the heavy weapon. Heavy damage to that green squad, but they are gonna stay around, at least for now. If they had lost one more guy, they'd be forced to lose their heavy weapon. You have to remove the squad leader last, and since the heavy weapon is much more valuable than a normal model, that's pretty worthwhile to do. Alright, so that activation did some substantial damage to the Imperials. It does definitely look like the Rebels are dominant on this flank now, though maybe Darth Vader will try to cross the bridge and help his troopers instead of pushing forward on the other side. As we do have Darth Vader right here. Vader could probably move up and Saber Throw against the ATRT, which actually does a lot of damage in expectation. Over here, though, these beleaguered pink Rebel troopers definitely look like they're getting the short end of the deal here, with a lot of Stormtroopers and speeder bikes moving to potentially engage them. So the Imperial player pulls a Corps Command token, which is just a basic Corps unit, and he's going to activate his orange Stormtroopers over here in the woods. They are currently just the slightest bit in range. As you can see, the base does stick out through that range projection, so they have the very slightest amount of range 3 towards those Rebel troopers. The Rebel troopers, looking from here, don't have cover from the tree, but they will have cover 1 for being suppressed. So we could see them aim and shoot here. Oh, looks like he's going to actually move up instead. He's going to try to put even more pressure on that Rebel deployment zone. And interesting that the players have turned off the deployment zone overlay, so we can't see exactly where the zone is, but I think it's basically around here is the edge of the Rebel deployment zone, about halfway through the table. So instead we're going to see these Stormtroopers move up and then fire. I actually don't like this, because from this position the Rebels will get cover 2. They have 1 cover for the shot going through these woods and 1 cover for being suppressed. His original position was better in terms of damaging the Rebels. On the other hand, perhaps he thinks, you know, I'm in such a good position against these Rebels, I don't need to do that. So he's going to fire... He'll probably fire his normal guns at the Rebels and his heavy weapon at the ATRT, similar to the attacks that we've seen previously using split fire from the Imperial forces. Oh, or he might have moved that way so that he can fire his heavy weapon at the ATRT all the way over here, which he can actually see quite clearly. No, he's firing it over there, as we can see from the arrow that he just made, the little ping. Biggins13 pointed out, yeah, he's going to displace those troopers and go for green. That was from the earlier ATRT movement, and Biggins, you were exactly right. So we get 1 hit on that ATRT. He incorrectly pulls out 2 dice, does 1. The dice thing lags a bit. No save for the ATRT, so a wound on the other ATRT. You might think that the ATRTs are tough because only crits get them, but impact weapons are common enough that they're not so tough after all. The white dice do 1 hit saved by cover and 1 crit not saved by cover. Let's see if a rebel trooper falls. He does. These pink guys continue to be whittled down. That's the heavy weapon guy, so I don't think he wants to remove him. He'll remove just a standard trooper instead. And they'll take yet another suppression. I think they have 5 suppression tokens now. Yeah, that's wild. So 5 suppression tokens is so many that they might actually run away, even with Leia there. The way that that works is units have a... So if you look at one of these unit cards, the green die, the green number on the right next to the portrait is their health. So it's 1, which means that 1 wound kills a trooper. And the yellow die is their courage, which is also 1, which means 1 suppression is enough to make them suppressed. And if you have suppression tokens equal to double your courage or more, you panic and start running away. But if you're within range of a commander, you can use the commander's courage value instead, and these guys are within range of... something strange just happened here. Suddenly I was providing a zoomed-in picture of a cliff. They are in range of Leia here. Leia has 2 courage, so you would have to have double hers to run away. These guys currently have 5, which is double hers, but there's one little saving grace for them, and that is that when you first activate, you get to roll 1 white die, 1 white defense die, for every suppression token you have. And any success on those dice removes a suppression. So they have a decent chance of clearing some of the suppression already on them when they activate. A rebel trooper unit moves onto the bridge, and I think they're probably going to fire. Who will they fire at, though, is the question. So they could shoot at the green stormtroopers and try to finish them off. That would eliminate one of the powerful Imperial heavy weapons. They could also probably fire on Vader. Looks like, oh, they have a suppression, so he's thinking, oh, wait, I can't do that. And he rolled to see if he cleared it, and he didn't clear it. So they have to actually stand where they are, which means probably they're going to be shooting at the... You want to shoot. Generally, shooting is basically the most impactful thing normal units can do. So suppressed units often just stand still and fire. I think that's probably what we're seeing here. I think they're going to stand still and fire their weapons. I'm not sure just which unit will be the target, but I do have my suspicions it will be the red Imperial troopers. Yeah, so that unit looks like they are standing still and firing. Not quite sure what the target is. Yeah, it looks like probably those red troopers. What is that? I guess they're deciding whether or not something can happen. Okay, so then they're rolling 3 crits and 3 hits. The surge doesn't do anything, but that's a total of 6 results, which is quite a strong roll. On average, these rebel troopers only get 4 results with each attack. And now we're seeing 5 results being rolled. They do have cover 1 for being suppressed. But 4 of them succeed. Only 1 trooper is killed. Lucky rolling from both sides there. That does add yet another suppression to those Imperial troopers, though. And these, I don't remember what this is called, like rough conditions or something conditions, hostile environment, does mean that these suppression tokens are sticking around. That unit takes another suppression from something? I don't think that's correct. Not sure what caused them to take the other suppression. Maybe someone in the chat can inform me. Biggins13 says, I think this is the first time I've seen a unit with 5 suppression. Yeah, I think you're right, dude. That is not normal. It is actually very unusual for sure. All right. OMG Brick on Discord says great commentary. Thank you. I do my best. I do my best. So we got the yellow Imperial troopers being activated next. So the Imperial troopers, you cannot end your movement on a base of a vehicle. So they're gonna have to kind of move around their own speeder bikes there. There's a situation where if the Imperial player had chosen a card that had more units to be activated, they might have been able to activate some of these guys before they got into. They might have been able to activate the bikes before these guys were being blocked by them. However, it also would have meant that that red squad likely would have been roasted before they had the chance to use their anti-tank grenades. And while the red squad did get very unlucky with their attack, like really crazily unlucky with those rebel saves, I think in expectation it was the right move to try to use those impact grenades first. This is a pretty interesting rebel list. I kind of like it. The basic rebel troopers are pretty efficient, and while the grenades aren't great for them, the fact that you have so many does mean that enemy vehicles are going to have to kind of watch out. I would worry a little bit about like an AT-ST bombarding you from afar, though. I'm not sure you'd be able to get close enough to actually put those grenades to use. So they would be great against air speeders or enemy flamers or similar sorts of things. Okay, it looks like even more firepower. You know, that game plan, the game plan of moving up and splitting fire with normal dice against the troopers and red dice against the vehicle has been working, and it looks like the Imperial player is going to continue it. 2 red dice, 1 crit and 1 hit. The hit gets turned into a crit, so that's actually going to be 2 defense rolls for the ATRT. He does make 1 save, though, so just 1 more damage. He has now taken 2. But he's getting whittled down. And then the white dice against the infantry, scoring 1 hit and 1 crit, so they have to roll 1 more save and take yet another suppression. That's going to be 6 suppression on there. Their squad might actually panic even in range of their commander, which is extremely rare in this game. It almost never happens that a squad has this much suppression, but they have really been taking hits. And I do think that kind of goes to show that it may have been imprudent to activate them that early in the turn previously. Might have been better to hold them back a bit and prevent some of those Imperial units from getting shots. In the first turn in particular in this game, because weapons are much shorter range than in games like Warhammer 40k, there's sort of a game of Brinkmanship where often the side that moves up first can be shot by enemy units that move up and then shoot. But moving up first does not allow your own unit to shoot. It merely moves them up, which, you know, does lead to a bit of a Brinkmanship dynamic, as I had just mentioned, where neither side really wants to be the first one to take the field, and you want to sort of activate after your opponent, hold back, and then after the enemy units have moved up, your guys can move up and fire. Looks like the Rebel player is maybe heeding that strategy this time and is using his units on the less active flank first, exposing them to less danger. So we do see the purple Rebel troopers moving up, and they're going to be firing on the red Stormtroopers again, I think, just getting some focused firepower going down the line there. 6 black dice and 5 white dice against those red troopers. That is nasty firepower. Let's see what he gets. Wow, 6 hits and a crit. Another very lucky roll from the Rebels. Or, I'm sorry, just 6. I guess there was some lag there or something. So it's 4 hits and 2 crits. So 6 results. 1 will be saved by cover, and that will be 5 saves for those Imperial troopers. Maybe just 4. I guess maybe the squad had light cover plus their suppression. Not sure. And 3 of them will fail, so that Imperial Trooper squad is down to just their squad leader. Heavy damage there. Then that Imperial squad leader has 4 suppression tokens. Vader is completely immune to suppression and makes any nearby units immune to suppression as well, because you really don't want to be seen fleeing from battle with Vader around. But that commander is not going to be doing much on his own. Or, sorry, he is immune. Vader is immune to suppression and makes units near him immune to panic, but they can still get suppressed. As indeed this Stormtrooper... the Stormtrooper Sergeant here is. Alright, looks like those green troopers have activated. Let's see if they can clear their suppression. They have 1 suppression token on them. Imperial player rolling to see if he can clear it. Blank, he does not clear it. Just the 1 action. And that unit does not have the anti-tank grenade. They have the concussion grenades instead. They're choosing to... It looks like they're choosing to fire at the... They're firing their heavy weapon at the AT-RT over there, trying to get some more damage on him. And they are maybe going to fire... Yeah, they're firing the squad leader's 1 white die into that other squad, trying to stack even more suppression and prevent them from doing their job. Let's see how these rolls go. 2 red dice against that AT-RT. And 2 hits. 1 of them turns to a crit. That'll be 1 save. Save fails. So yeah, this is that death by 1,000 cuts I was discussing. This AT-RT has now taken 3 wounds, all from just 1 impact shot. And the white die against the squad misses. So if an attack misses you completely, you do not need to take a suppression from it. If they roll a hit, however, you do need to take suppression from it, even if that hit is saved by cover or dodge. So what's going on here? So Leia can use her ability when she activates to remove up to 2 suppression from nearby friendly units. So she is probably going to want to do that and try to get some of the suppression off of these rebel troopers who are in a spot of trouble here. So, Leia has removed 2 suppression from them, putting them at only 4, and she has to consider her options now. Probably she wants to move up, but I don't think she's actually going to be in range of anything this turn. And you also kind of want to be far enough away from at least some units that next turn you could use your artillery strike, I think. If he doesn't use that soon, it's going to be wasted. Leia has a command card that allows her to act normally, and then additionally, after she's finished acting, it fires it's called Coordinated Bombardment, and it lets you shoot essentially an artillery attack against 3 different units, rolling 2 red dice for each. And so I imagine that what the Rebel player probably wants to do here is move Leia up this side and then fire the artillery onto the units on this flank, which will be further away. But maybe he has decided that the units on that side actually are the ones that need to be backed up, and he'll fire the artillery over here because he's moving the other direction. I don't know that that's prudent. I think that artillery card is quite important, and I'm not sure he's going to have an opportunity to use it that effectively with this movement being selected, but we'll have to see. Yeah, so Leia's moving up twice, taking cover behind this bridge as she kind of moves to try to defend against all these oncoming Imperial troopers. Lots of troopers there coming to confront Leia. Additionally, she has to be careful. She has to move in a way that isn't going to block that AT-RT when it moves up, which adds to the complication of this maneuver. And I'm really not sure this would be the move that I would select were I the commander of these rebels. So she's looking, she's trying to look at angles here. I don't know that this is so good. I think that ATRT is going to displace her. They're having kind of some issues with the collision detection there. Biggins, thanks for the compliment on the commentary. He has Riggins on Discord. Yeah, I guessed that. They have no way to deal with Luke or Vader once they come crashing in. Yeah, I do think that's true. I think Vader might be a big obstacle for these rebel forces here. I'm not sure what their game plan is to deal with him. It might be that they just plan to focus fire on him with a lot of shooting units when the time comes. I could certainly see that occurring. I do think they're going to become quite vulnerable to suppression from their units up top, given that Leia has decided to move to the bottom sector. I really think that I would... I'm not sure I would have moved Leia in this direction, especially given the artillery card, but it's possible that this guy sees something that I don't, or has a plan that I don't realize. And I do think... I don't know these players that well. This game itself is still very early. I know STABcast Ryan is called that because he is on a podcast which is called the STABcast. I don't remember what STABcast. STAB is an acronym and it stands for something weird. I'll look it up and I'll tell you guys what it is. It's like I think a semi joke acronym, I think is fair to say. But I'm not sure just what exactly that acronym is, and I'll look that up for you guys so we can get full info. And then Tezrial is, I think, a pretty experienced player. Like, I've seen him playing before, I suppose, but no one is that experienced. This game is still very new. Alright, looking up what STABcast stands for now. So the STABcast is based in Tennessee, and it is a Star Wars Legion podcast. I actually haven't listened to it, so I can't tell you whether or not it is. High quality content, but I suspect any podcast for a game this early is going to have at least some useful information, given there's always stuff that people haven't looked at. And yeah, I'm looking at their site now, and it looks like they have some like battle reports and stuff that look pretty cool. So yeah, maybe check that out. And STAB stands for Sunsphere Tactical Attack Brigade. So this is Sunsphere Tactical Attack Brigade Ryan. Which, okay, that's actually not as forced as some acronyms I've heard, I'm not gonna lie. If any of you guys remember the game Fear, Fear is an acronym in that game for First Encounter Assault Recon, which is kind of ridiculous. Oh, so those purple rebel troopers, this time the attack is just focused on them with all weapons, and that's enough to finally bring them down. So this flank here, this left rebel flank is really looking grim for the rebellion, even though they are making a lot of gains on the right. So we'll have to see what happens next. If I were the rebel commander, I'd be getting seriously worried about all those stormtroopers coming down my flank with only Leia and a highly damaged ATRT currently engaging them. But perhaps the green troopers will pivot and move down to assist their commander Leia. Looks like another trooper unit does come out, and the the rebel player is kind of trying to decide which one. He has managed to do very serious damage to both the red and green stormtrooper squads on the other side. I don't know if they're going to be his next target. Looks like he's going for the red guys. This should be an interesting move. Is he going to send the red guys down to reinforce his flank, or is he going to push up with them on the offense against the stormtroopers up there? Looks like he's going in. So the rebel player is focusing on offense over defense, which is kind of the name of the game for rebels in this thus far. His guys are moving forward And I think his goal here is going to be to try to take down... so he is keeping his squad leader slightly back to stay in contact with this so that they can remove potential suppression. Or so it seems. One of his guys is flying around crazily. I think his goal is going to be to just take down that red sergeant. Personally, I might consider splitting fire and shooting some shots at the green guys as well. But I think he's just going to try to take down that one red trooper sergeant. Eliminating enemy units is a good strategy in this game, which I know is like derp. Like, why wouldn't you want to eliminate your enemy units? But there's an extra facet that makes it a little better than in some games, and that is that if you eliminate an enemy unit completely in this game, they are no longer going to be threatening to you in terms of the enemy's going to have fewer activations. Which means that if you have more activations than your opponent, you can use some of their units after they've already done anything and sort of react to their plan. Alright, so 5 black dice and 6 white dice against that one Imperial trooper. He will have cover 2, but I'm not sure it will save him. He takes, 4 crits and 1 hit. His cover cancels only the hit since it doesn't work on crits. And we're going to see 4 red dice rolled to see whether or not that Stormtrooper Sergeant can stay alive. Alright, let's see if he can get him. 4 red dice being rolled. Oh, wow, he only fails 1 save. So the Stormtrooper Sergeant does die, but just barely. The entire Red Squad's firepower needed to bring him down. That does eliminate one of the Imperial Trooper units, which will be especially useful given that units in the enemy zone are what scores in this. But I do think there's 4 units coming in here that look like they might well be able to get into the Rebel deployment zone. I do think the Rebels have a good chance of getting some of their units into the Imperial zone over here, but I have to wonder whether they could be focused more on defending themselves at the same time. We'll have to see how this goes. I seem to have dropped or misplaced one of my scout trooper heads here while I've been assembling these speeder bikes. Hopefully I will find that, because that would be a bit of an annoying piece to lose. Well, what can we do? Okay, looks like we see a... Looks like we're seeing a... the kind of turquoise stormtroopers are moving up. They're moving up. They're on the bridge. And they're going to be firing probably at some of these rebel troopers over here. Looks like they're in range of... Their red dice are just out of range. You measure from your squad leader. The squad leader is over here. This guy would be in range on his red dice, but the normal guys are not. Those red dice are going to be wasted. They might... Or the white dice at range 3 are going to be wasted. He could still shoot his heavy weapon, probably at this luckless ATRT over here, however. And we really are seeing those ATRTs taking heavy damage this game. I do think that the Rebel player would have been better served by having them at the absolute front of the deployment zone so they wouldn't have to maneuver around his troops. I note that the one that was on the front over here did get in. The one over there was killed, and now this one is kind of in an awkward spot. 1 crit. Let's see if he saves it. Oh, he does. Lucky, lucky. I always treat it as like lucky and rare when my ATRTs do make their saves, since it is only a 1 in 6 shot. And that way I am not disappointed when they inevitably fail as well. Okay, so if that ATRT takes 1 more damage, he is going to have to roll a... So the ATRT, instead of having morale, has a damage threshold of 4 in addition to its overall health of 6. That means if it takes 4 damage, it has to roll a red defense die, and depending on what happens, it can take some additional results that impair it, although vehicles cannot be suppressed. ATRT going in. Is he in range? Oh no, because he had to move. Well, he had to move twice, so it doesn't matter if he's in range yet. But if he somehow survives through these speeder bikes attacking him, which in my opinion is not necessarily the likeliest thing, but if he somehow survives, he is going to be in a decent spot. He's going to be in a decent spot for next turn. In terms of getting to attack probably some of those troopers, but I suppose he could go for the bikes instead. Vader doing a Saber Throw against that other ATRT and inflicting all 3 hits. That means it will just take 3 wounds automatically because Vader has Impact 3 and Pierce 3, which means his attacks ignore his first 3 hits turn to crits, and additionally he ignores the first 3 successful saves. So that ATRT quickly taking much more damage. It's down to 1 wound left, in fact. So now we're seeing more Rebel troopers. Oh yeah, and so it takes a damage result, which gives it the damage token. The damage token means that, similar to being suppressed, you have to roll a white defense die when you activate. If it is a blank, you only get 1 action. If it is a hit or a crit, you get both actions. That ATRT is not long for the world. I think Vader will likely destroy it next turn. So it does look like Vader is being sent, instead of reinforcing the Imperial push on the left, Vader's coming over to try to stop the Rebel push on the right. Similar to, I suppose, Leia being sent to try to help stop the Imperial push on the left. The main difference being that I think that Vader is a much more frightening individual combatant than Leia is. So I don't know how well that situation is going to go. Now, didn't that unit already activate? Am I crazy? I thought they already activated to shoot that, I thought they already activated to shoot that trooper. Maybe they're just being activated here to check range. What was that? That's an aim token? Yeah, it does look like he's trying to activate them again, which I think is not allowed. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. I don't think it's valid. But we are not allowed to comment. I'm going to see if I can call a judge or something. Oh no, maybe they've realized. This unit definitely has already activated. That was the unit that moved up and finished off that squad leader. So hopefully they are not incorrectly activating it again, and instead are going to activate either the green or the yellow Rebel troopers, which have not gone yet. But I'm not entirely sure what's happening, and unfortunately I am not permitted to comment, as that is the streamer guideline for this season of this league. To be honest, my hope is that that will change. I know that we had a similar guideline in the L5R Discord League, Yeah, he's definitely activating this unit again, and that is not valid. I'm gonna try to see. I'm gonna try to see if I can contact one of the stream admins and see if he can intervene. Yeah, this is not correct. Yeah, so I'm talking to one of the league admins now and seeing if we can intervene on this. Unfortunately, the answer might be no, given the current guidelines. Yeah. Okay, so this is an illegal move. This red rebel trooper unit has activated twice in the same turn, but we are unfortunately not allowed to comment on it. Okay, I don't agree with that ruling, but I will abide by it because that's the way this league works. So he's going to get an extra activation with this red trooper squad. And it looks like they are going to shoot... I can't tell if they're shooting Vader or if they're shooting the green troopers. But this squad already did activate. They were the ones that finished off the trooper leader over there from the other squad. It's a bit of an unfortunate state of affairs. I can't tell who they're shooting at. The Stormtroopers would have 2 cover because they're suppressed, and then they have cover 1 from the ATRT. Actually, they would just have 2 cover from the tree anyway. Vader would have 1 cover because of the ATRT and or the trees. Looks like he's shooting Vader because they're rolling, or no, I can't tell what's happening. I think they might be rolling the wrong number of dice also. But we're not allowed to comment, so not entirely sure what's going on here, guys, and I apologize for the rules mistake on stream, but it is outside my control. My preference is that the league rules change to allow these sorts of things to be called out. As I was discussing earlier, this was what happened in the L5R league early on, and it had a lot of problems. It does look like Vader chose not to use his dodge token, maybe, which I don't understand. Or maybe he did use... Yeah, Vader chose not to use his dodge token for some reason, and then took 2 wounds as a result. If he had used his dodge token, he would have been able to deflect, and that would have meant that any surge would deflect a wound back and kill one of the attacking units. He did roll a surge, but because he did not use his dodge token, it did not apply. Biggins13 says he probably thinks he has another activation since Pink got deleted. Yeah, so this squad got wiped out, I think, before they activated, so that might have led to confusion as to how many units were left. It is possible to make mistakes like that, but unfortunately we are unable to correct them given these league guidelines. Hopefully it won't be too impactful. In the chat, Biggins13 says the Rebel player needs to be careful of Vader's 3-pip. Yeah, I agree. Vader's 3-dot command card lets you do some significant damage, actually, to whoever is within... so it gives Vader a free dodge token. You can activate 2 other units, and it additionally does an automatic 3 suppression to every enemy trooper unit within range 2. All right, so these speeder bikes are moving up. I'm not sure who they're targeting. The best target is either Leia or the ATRT, and I'd probably go for the ATRT to finish it off. Try and finish it off before it can do some major damage to my own guys next turn. He does shoot, it looks like 2 hits and a surge. 2 defense dice for the ATRT, fails both of them, down to 1 wound remaining on that ATRT as well. The defensive weakness of the ATRTs has really been highlighted in this game. Let's see what critical damage result he gets. A blank. Oh man, that's going to be really costly. So the blank... So this guy now has disabled, which means that it takes him both of his actions to move. So this ATRT is kind of going to get stopped at the last moment here, as it will take him both his actions to move up towards the Stormtroopers, and he certainly won't get a chance to live through that unless he gets extremely lucky, and these speeder bikes are using their last action to move past him, so he won't be able to flamer them either. we really are seeing the defensive weakness of these ATRTs highlighted, as aside from the one that got through over there, the other two have been picked off before they can use their flamers, I believe, unless something strange happens down here. And I do have to say, if the Rebel Trooper had deployed the two ATRTs here on the front line together, it's possible that he could have sent them both forward and only one would be killed before attacking. But as it stood, they kind of went in piecemeal, and they were picked off one by one on the first turn and one on the second. Actually, it looks like these speeder bikes are just pivoting instead of moving up. Maybe worried about exposing themselves to more fire from the Rebel Troopers over here. I know the Green Troopers haven't activated yet, but it does mean that if the ATRT activates before them, it will get to use its flamer on the speeder bikes at least, but I think it has a high chance of dying before it does that, so we'll have to see. These guys, in order to attack the speeder bikes, would need to move up. It's possible that's what he's trying to avoid. However, it's possible that they're simply going to shoot at the green Stormtroopers over there. So let's see here. Green Rebels versus Green Stormtroopers. Are we going to see a face-off? Is that what will happen here? Not entirely sure. So it looks like we have the green troopers the green Rebel troopers are moving up onto this bridge. Their placement is kind of incorrect here. You're not really allowed to have your guys overlapping like this, but maybe he's going to fix it, and maybe, even if not, I'm not allowed to say anything about it. Oh, looks like he's fixing it. I guess the placement in this case is Tabletop Simulator's weird physics mean that these guys may have some trouble sticking on there. Who will he shoot at? He could shoot at the Green Troopers. He could shoot at Vader. He could shoot at the Teal Troopers. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who the target is going to be from this one. Oh, he's trying to move the squad leader the rest of the distance up. The squad leader wasn't quite there. That makes sense, because now he can shoot at Vader without cover, I think, and previously he would have the cover, as far as I can tell. And he may be trying to just focus shots on Vader. If he can take down Vader, it will really open up that side for his other troopers, but I'm not entirely sure who he's shooting at. 4 hits and a crit. That's an above average result regardless of who the target is. And let's see who's being targeted. Looks like Vader's getting targeted because he's spending his dodge token, so he'll probably have to roll 4 red dice. And unless they've decided that he has cover, which I don't think he has. Yeah, so he has 4 red dice, but if he rolls any surges, they deflect and kill a Rebel Trooper. Vader rolls 2 successes, 1 surge, and 1 blank, so he'll take 1 more wound, but he'll also deflect a bolt back and kill one of these Rebels. It's a very characterful rule for those lightsaber blaster bolt deflections, and both Luke and Vader have that capability. So that will be 1 more wound on Vader, but 1 Rebel Trooper is killed by the deflection. Luckily for the Rebels, getting hit by a deflected attack does not suppress you. You have to actually be the target of enemy shooting to be suppressed. Looks like the last Rebel Trooper unit's activated, and then we're going to have the end of the turn after this. So those last Rebel Troopers are pulling up this flank. I don't know that they're going to be in range this turn, honestly. It might have been better to activate them before the Red Troopers killed that Sergeant and use this squad to finish off the Sergeant. I'm still not sure, but I don't think they're going to be in range. Yeah, they are not in range. They're probably just going to move up once again. So as we can see, we have kind of a mirrored situation here with a strong Imperial force on this side versus a strong Rebel force on this side. And I do think that the Rebel units over here, they've already put a good amount of damage on Vader, though unfortunately some of that was thanks to a rules mistake. But having put that damage on Vader, they might have a chance to take him down without him doing too much damage to their stuff. The Imperials still do need to use at least 1 attack to finish off this ATRT, and I suppose also that ATRT. But I think these Imperial forces may well be able to penetrate through the Rebel defense and enter their deployment zone on this side, given that the only real defenses there are going to be these 2 Rebel Trooper squads and Leia herself. Leia herself actually does do more damage output than a Rebel Trooper squad, assuming the opponents are in cover, because she ignores it completely. So these forces aren't totally overmatched by the Imperials, but I do think the Imperials have a distinct advantage over here. One downside is they are out of range of Vader in all likelihood, which does mean that it's possible their units could be suppressed to the point where they start panicking, especially if the Rebels split fire across multiple units on this side. So
We're now looking back over here and analyzing this side a bit. The Imperials have one very depleted squad, one squad that's just lost, I think, oh no, it was just a smaller squad to begin with, and a Vader who has slightly more than half health. I do think they're going to be able to clear this ATRT, though if it fires first, it can probably, if the ATRT were to fire first, it could probably do some significant damage. I do think that Leia ought to use her artillery strike now. I think it's now or never on that artillery strike, to be honest. I mean, it's a little late even as it is. But we'll have to see what cards come out. The Rebel player also definitely does want to activate those ATRTs early, if at all possible. So there really are multiple incentives. Let's see what we see. Yep, there's the artillery strike. Coordinated bombardment. At the end of Leia Organa's activation, she may perform up to 3 attacks against different enemy units using the following weapon. Range 4 to infinity, 2 red dice immune to deflect. The minimum range of 4 is going to impair that attack. Vader is using his Implacable. At the end of Darth Vader's first activation, he can suffer a wound to shuffle his order token back into the order pool. During his second activation, he performs 1 fewer action. So the goal here is probably to have Vader use his first activation, move up, kill the ATRT, move up. Second activation, move up. He probably won't be in range to actually melee these Rebel troopers, but he can at least throw his saber at them, and he'll be very close to them, which means if he can live through the turn, the next turn he can use his 3 pip card, get a free dodge, and give 3 suppression to a lot of Rebels who are not in range of Leia and will likely panic if Vader can live to the next turn to use that Master of Evil card. That's sort of the plans that I assume are in effect this turn. Let's take a quick check and see whether they will succeed. Looks like the players have re-enabled the deployment zones, by the way. So as you can see, these Imperial forces are approaching the Rebel deployment zone here, and these Rebel forces are approaching the edge of the Imperial deployment zone over there. Looks like Vader's going first. As predicted, his first action is to move into contact with that ATRT and attack it. This is almost a guaranteed kill. He needs to roll 1 hit or crit on 6 red attack dice. If he somehow fails that ATRT is the luckiest thing alive. Nope, 4 results. 3 of them will get through and damage automatically, so that ATRT is gone. Then Vader gets 1 more action beyond that. So he's probably going to use that action to move up. And then he'll probably wound himself. He could also just dodge more. Yeah, he's going to just dodge more. So he dodges once and then uses his Force Reflexes card as well to get yet another dodge. So Vader has 2 dodges on him to provide extra protection against those Rebel troopers. The activation card comes back up. Maybe he's rethinking his second dodge and is going to move instead. I'm not sure. Nope. Looks like that's it. It's gonna be, oh, okay. So he's putting the card back in. That's what he's doing. So that should give Vader another wound, and it does. He's now on 4 wounds. So Vader is at half health, having 8 wounds in total. Very strong character, Vader. Probably the strongest individual model that can currently be fielded, with the potential exception of an ATST loaded up with a huge number of upgrades and the General Weiss card. I tend to think Vader is more powerful than the ATST, but he, he fills a different role. So now we're seeing, wow, lucky. The Rebel player pulls a card, and he pulls that a support card, which means he's going to be able to activate this other ATRT before it dies. So it would need to use both of its actions to move, but it's not going to move. It's going to aim and fire its flamethrower on those speeder bikes. So 4 black dice, and he gets to reroll 2 of these with his aim. He has surges to crit, so he has 2 results. He gets to reroll the 2 that failed. What's going on here? Oh, okay, so this guy doesn't know how to do it. That's fine. Okay, so he has 2 results. You can just manually roll these by tapping R on Tabletop Simulator if you've used it before. Okay, so he gets 3 results against the speeder bikes. This attack does have blast and spray, so it ignores the speeder bikes cover 1, which they always have. The speeder bikes roll 3 white dice and save 1, so that's 2 damage onto the bikes. It was lucky of the Rebel player to get this activation order, given that ATRT is very likely to die with the next Imperial action. It does mean that he's able to do a little bit of damage before he goes down, though because of his disabled result, he is not able to move up and shoot the Stormtroopers as he'd like, but is instead forced to put out a little less damage on the bikes. The reason he would want to move up and shoot the Stormtroopers, the ATRT flamethrower card, which I'm highlighting now, has the spray ability. Add this weapon's dice to the attack pool 1 time for each miniature in the defending unit to which line of sight is not blocked. which means that if he was able to move up and shoot at 6 Stormtroopers, he would be rolling 12 dice. But as he's instead attacking 2 speeder bikes, he only has 4. It isn't that it's useless to attack the speeder bikes, of course, but it's not quite as good as attacking those Stormtroopers would have been. This AT-RT with Flamethrower is really a dedicated anti-infantry unit. Biggins13 suggests that the Imperial player is going for a mass rout next turn. I think that's very possible. So if he manages to heavily suppress the rebels in the flank up there, the red, yellow, and purple squad of rebels, if he can suppress them, they are out of range of Leia and may be forced to run away. If he can get enough suppression tokens, you only need 2 suppression tokens on a unit to make them start running under the right circumstances. So as we can see, they're moving up here. They're now within range 3 of Leia, which means that they're probably going to be firing their white dice at Leia and their red dice to finish off the AT-RT. Furthermore, because they're within range 3 of Leia, Leia is going to be outside of range to use her bombardment against them, since it has a minimum range of 4. Yep, they're in range of Leia. I think we're going to see white dice Leia, red dice AT-RT try to finish off the AT-RT with the heavy weapon, while the white dice try to put a few wounds on Princess Leia. They are also maybe slightly in range of these green guys, so maybe they'll shoot at the green guys instead, but the green guys are barely even visible and would have heavy cover. I think Leia's a better target. Alright, let's see if he can finish off the AT-RT. He does get 2 hits. The AT-RT will have to roll a save. It only has 1 health left. So there's a 1 in 6 chance for the AT-RT to live. Nope, there goes the AT-RT. All 3 Rebel AT-RTs have now been felled, and I have to say they were not successful in doing very much damage. However, they did attract a lot of firepower in these early turns from the Imperial player and forced some moves over here in particular to react to them. Alright, now 5 white dice inflicting 1 crit, it looks like. So that'll be 1 save rolled for either Leia or those green guys, since the crit will go through cover. And there will be a suppression as well. Nope, no save. So Leia will probably take a wound. Oh, I guess it was the green guys after all. Oh, interesting. So the Leia was actually the target, so she got suppressed, but she used her esteemed leader card to let the troopers take the hit for her instead. I have to say that was a mistake in my view. I think that taking a wound on Leia's 6 wounds is much less bad for you than losing a trooper who also loses a die, because Leia fights at her full effectiveness until she dies, and every lost trooper is a lost attack die. So at least in my view, I would have just let Leia take the hit, but that's just like my opinion, man. I'm just some guy. I don't know. You know, the meta for this is far from established at this phase. Alright, so we're now seeing, it looks like Leia is going. So to get this artillery strike in, he can't be at range 3. So what he needs to do is move. I think what I would actually do is maybe move over here and then launch the artillery against those guys, and those guys. That would be an option. She does get 2 actions. You could even maybe move over here, shoot the speeder bikes with your normal shot. Okay, so she's giving a dodge token. She incorrectly gives a dodge token to the blue squad, which is out of range of this ability. Okay, so she's giving a dodge token to herself and 1 to the green squad, actually, which is legal. That's fine. So she's done that. And then I suspect she wants to move down to here. Yeah, so she'll take a dodge token for herself and the other squad. And then I think you move down to behind this wall for heavy cover. And then from there, you can shoot artillery at Vader, at the green troopers, and at the teal troopers. No, she's moving back. Maybe she's going to fire the artillery on this side instead. Not sure I like this. She is in range for artillery strike, and she does have line of sight to at least some troopers from all units, as far as I can tell. So she can fire 2 red dice on each of those trooper units, which is also good because they're out of range of Vader. They have a good chance of being suppressed, and if more suppression goes on, then they might panic. So this is actually pretty reasonable. This is a very strong card. 3 different attacks, each with 2 red dice. Leia does have surges to crits, as you can see from her own card, and she additionally has Sharpshooter 2, reducing the defender's cover by 2. 2 is the maximum amount of cover, so Leia actually ignores cover completely. A very strong ability to have, without doubt. All right. So we're seeing the blue guys moving here, or no, we're seeing the yellow guys moving. Yeah, I think the blue guys already went, maybe. Yeah. So actually, the orange troop. What happened to that artillery? Did they forget the artillery? Did I miss it being used? Did they resolve it really fast? Wow, I think they legitimately may have forgotten to do the coordinated bombardment. So if so, that's a. Did any of the viewers see something happen here? I think they forgot to do the coordinated bombardment, which is hugely negative for the Rebel player, of course. So maybe there have been some rule mistakes for both sides here. Losing that bombardment, man, that was really important to the defense of that left flank, I feel. I think on average that would kill 2 or 3 troopers and suppress several units, none of which have their unit leaders in cover to be able to clear that suppression at the end of the turn. So I think forgetting that is probably even more important than the incorrect second activation over there. Also looks like they forgot to use Leia's ability to remove suppression from the blue troopers, which she could have done at the start of her activation. So I think there have been some substantial errors. I guess these are more errors where you just forgot to do something that he can do, whereas the other one was doing something that he couldn't do. But yeah, Biggins suggests that it may be at the end of the phase, which yeah, that's not correct, but maybe they do think it's like that. Because it is at the end of Leia's activation, not at the end of the entire phase. Some white dice go, I think it's white dice on the greens and red dice on the blues, maybe? Well, the greens should be unaffected if so, because they have 2 hits against, they have at least light cover from here, I think. Maybe they don't have cover. It's hard to say if they're using the new cover clarification. Oh no, they have cover. Okay, they're fine. And then the blues, I guess, took a suppression, but nothing else. Not entirely sure what happened there either, to be frank. Oh, okay. So wait, Leia can't use her ability to remove suppression from herself. It's other friendly units. Also, she wouldn't want to remove suppression from herself. Having 1 suppression on Leia is positive. But maybe they did not realize that. That's fine. Alright, so now we're seeing these red troopers being used. I think if I were the commander here, what I would probably do is shoot at Vader and then move back. You do not want to be... No, I don't know. Vader hasn't activated yet, and he can move up. He's gonna... Yeah, I would maybe shoot Vader and then move back full speed, but that's... Well, no, they're gonna dodge and shoot, probably. Okay. Okay. I don't know if actually they're gonna shoot Vader, if they're gonna shoot the green troopers. Both are pretty good targets here. But we'll find out soon enough. They get... wow, 5 crits and a hit. These Rebel troopers have been rolling great attack dice on this flank. Looks like he was shooting at the green troopers because they take a suppression. So they're going to have to roll a lot of red defense dice. I think 5 of them. Maybe even 6 if they don't have cover, but I think they have cover. But those crits will get through. They're gone. The green troopers are wiped out. Heavy losses on that side from the Imperials, but I'm not sure if it will matter if the Rebels can't stop Vader. Because Vader can potentially use that card to give 3 suppression to a lot of Rebel units over there. And if they take 3 suppression, they're probably going to be panicking off the board, quite frankly. We'll see if the... but there is still some more firepower that could be applied to Vader. There's at least 2 more squads. I don't think the Rebels are going to be able to stop him, though. Then again, if they can roll that lucky again, you know, if that attack... those same rolls would result in Vader actually instantly dying. So maybe they'll stay lucky and they won't need it. Yeah, Biggins, no worries. I wasn't saying, I wasn't criticizing you. I think they've clearly made some mistakes this game. I think that may be what they did. It's also possible. Wait, hang on. Let's see here. So we have the turquoise Imperial troopers are dodging and shooting probably. I don't know why they're dodging instead of aiming. I would definitely want to aim instead, but that's okay. They're firing their 4 white dice and 2 red dice, all at the green Rebel trooper squads who do have a dodge and a cover. Dodge and cover are going to take care of the hit, but there's still 2 crits getting in, so that's going to be 2 white defense dice for those rebels, both of which fail. So that Rebel trooper squad is reduced to just 1 guy and the heavy weapon. I really do think this left flank is looking like the rebels are totally getting overrun, and they're really taking losses here. Forgetting that artillery strike has not helped their cause. Biggins suggested that it's possible they thought the artillery is at the end of the turn, which if true, maybe they'll get to roll it at least if both players think it's like that. But at this phase, I think that the rebels are taking maybe unsustainable losses. Like if we look at the forces right here, there's 4 full rebel trooper squads and 4 full stormtrooper squads. The rebels also have 2 troopers here, but in addition to the 4 full squads, the Imperials have Vader and the speeder bikes. So I think this current situation quite favors the Imperials, but we'll see whether or not the rebels can do some more damage. Yeah, Biggins says they should just go all out. The Imperials have almost 4 guaranteed points. They just need to make sure to eliminate rebel activations. Yeah, I would say they have almost 3 guaranteed points because I do think there's a good chance that the Imperials can, or the rebels can wipe out the speeder bikes in particular. It does look like maybe there's going to be some shooting at the speeder bikes from this green squad. Rolling 1 black die and 6 white dice. The speeder bikes will have cover... I can't tell if they have cover 1 or 2 here. Looks like maybe they have cover 2. But they're aiming and shooting, so there will be 2 rerolls there. And they only need to do 1 wound to pick off one of these bikes, since each bike has 3 wounds and they've already taken 2. So it shouldn't be too hard. Let's see what they get. 2 crits and a hit. The hit will be saved by cover, but they get to reroll 2 of these. They should reroll the black die and 1 of the white dice. So that's what they're going to do. See if they can add to that roll with their aim token they just did. An aim action gives you an aim token, which you can spend to reroll 2 dice. That's going to be 2 hits, 2 crits. So if they decided it has heavy cover, which they did, only the crits get through, 2 white dice are rolled and both fail. So the wounded speeder bike is taken down and the other speeder bike now has a wound on it. That's good because at the very least it reduces some of the dice that are coming in against these rebels. If the rebels can pick off the other speeder bike, they'd be in a better spot, but given that they... we'll also see what happens with that artillery, but I do think if they've forgotten that artillery, that's a huge problem for the rebels if they've forgotten that, because that's really, really crucial. It's probably Leia's best command card. We don't know what her 3 pip card does yet, but of her known command cards, it's probably the best one. Debatably the best command card in the game, extremely strong. And so forgetting that is really very negative if that's indeed what happened. All right, so the yellow stormtroopers now are moving up, and they're probably going to continue firing on those green rebels, I think, and try to get them off the board. The rebels, this rebel left flank, I've said it before, but it is looking grim. I do think the best move with Leia would have been to move her behind this barricade. That'll make her somewhat difficult to remove for the Imperials. Standing behind the barricade, she also projects some threat that will keep them back at least for some time, and moving there would let her fire her artillery at the green guys, the turquoise guys, and at Vader. Since she ignores cover, she wouldn't care about the tree and could maybe do some more damage. Then all the squads over here could focus on Vader and hopefully bring him down before he can use the Master of Evil card next turn, which would then kind of open the door for these 3 rebel troopers to enter the Imperial deployment zone, and then if they can kill at least 2 of the units here with their defense, they can probably win 3-2. That would be my game plan as the rebel player, but as we can see things are going differently, let's see how it turns out. And I agree with Biggins' suggestion where the Imperial player can do well by simply going all out in this scenario. If the Imperial player indeed focuses his units on eliminating these defenders, and getting these 3 units of Stormtroopers into the Rebel deployment zone, I think he has a good chance to win. One interesting factor, though, like let's say all this stuff gets wiped out, the speeder bike dies, this stuff gets wiped out, we have 3 Rebel units in and 3 Imperial units in, we would then have to go to the tiebreaker, which I believe is points value of units completely wiped out. And I believe the Rebel player would win that, but I'm not sure. All right, so more shooting. Looks like 2 surges, 1 hit, 1 crit, probably on the green squad. The surges turn into hits. They do have cover and dodge. So as a result of the cover and dodge, they should be taking, I believe, only 1. That's right. And it saves. Yeah, those green Rebel troopers are resilient. So the bridge provides cover 2, and then the dodge token saves 1 hit as well. So these Imperial shots are not stopping them. They're probably playing in accordance with the new terrain clarification, which makes it so this bridge is actually very favorable cover-wise. So then we're seeing... So he still has the blue Rebel Troopers, the yellow Rebel Troopers, and the purple Rebel Troopers. Vader still has yet to activate, though. My main things would be try to activate the blue Rebel Troopers and kill that bike before it can attack, but you would have to get some lucky rolls to do it. Or try to activate the yellow Rebel Troopers and just shoot Vader. Looks like the blue Rebel Troopers are it. Let's see if they can clear the 2 suppression they already have on them. If they can clear both, this is really fortunate for the Rebels. They clear 1, but not 2. So, looks like their only action is going to be to move. And they're moving, in my opinion, the wrong way. Because they're going straight in over there, and that means they're going to be just another unit that gets hit by Vader's 3 Suppression Master of Evil card next turn, in my view. Which is really a big opportunity here for STABcast Ryan. We'll see if he takes it. Looks like they are incorrectly activating again after... They should only have 1 action this turn because they're suppressed. But maybe they're just checking ranges to Vader. Hopefully they're not going to shoot him. Yeah, okay. Looks like they are not shooting him. They did forget he was just checking ranges to see where he was relative to Vader. I think he was checking to make sure he was outside of range 2, but I think he's going to get an unwelcome surprise because Vader still has an activation given that Implacable card, and he's going to move up and get within range 2 of those units. Alright, Speeder Bike comes up. Speeder Bike is going to take a speed 3 move. Looks like he's moving through that area. If I were the Imperial player, I might try to put shots on that blue trooper unit, or I might move over here and maybe shoot for the green troopers, even though it's unlikely that you'll get them, because if you do get them, it removes the heavy weapon, or maybe shoot at Leia, but I think the blue troopers would be my prime target. Simply because they are in the open and would stay suppressed, and then next turn with Master of Evil, they could get tons of suppression on them. Assuming, of course, the Rebels cannot stop Vader. If the Rebels do stop Vader with the yellow and purple squads, I think this game might be pretty close, but if Vader gets to move forward and then use Master of Evil next turn and stays alive to activate, I think it's going to be crushing. Just crushing for the Rebel player. So this Speeder Bike is in range of the blue troopers and the green troopers. Who will he shoot for? He may be shooting for the green troopers. Unfortunately, they would have cover 2 from the bridge. Cover 2 and a dodge means that only crits would get in. Looks like he's actually moving again. Maybe he will move up onto the bridge to prevent them from getting cover from it. Or maybe he's gunning straight for Leia. It's hard to tell. He's only partially moving. Can't quite tell what he's going for here. If he touches the bridge, they won't get cover from the bridge. But I can't tell if that's what he's going for. Looks like it's not. I'm not sure what the purpose of this move is. So looking from this guy's perspective, the squad leader would still have cover from the bridge. It's possible that they're using the previous like 50% rule and not the clarification that Alex Davies sent in an email. This is kind of esoteric for those of you who aren't familiar with this game, but there's a dispute as to how exactly cover works, and it's going to be clarified in an update to the rules guide. We do see 2 hits here, so the cover and dodge save them completely with no effect, but there is another suppression on that squad. Now, Leia has a very good chance of just shooting this speeder bike and killing it next turn with her pistol. One of the ATRTs activates. Of course, it was taken down, so that card is just put off to the side. These ATRTs really not necessarily earning their points back against these Imperials. And then a Troopers unit activates. So these Red Troopers have already activated. It's possible that they're going to once again activate an additional time incorrectly, but no, I think he's going for the Yellow Troopers. So in this situation, I think that Vader is going to be so devastating to me that the best thing to do is to just aim and shoot him, maximize all units' firepower on Vader, and just try to take him down before he gets a chance to activate with that Master of Evil card. Because if he gets that, it's going to do very substantial damage to the Rebel forces in terms of morale, and I'm not sure it's recoverable. Yeah, so it looks like Tezrial realizes that, or maybe just wants to focus fire. Anyway, he is going to aim and shoot Vader. That squad is going to have 5 black dice and 6 white dice against Vader, and they have 2 rerolls. He will have no cover, but he does have a dodge. He actually has 2 dodges. And a less good roll with 1 crit and 2 hits, a little bit below average. Average is 4, maybe making up for some of the extreme rolls we'd seen earlier. But with 2 black dice to be rerolled, they will probably be at 4 anyway. What's going on here? Oh, okay. They're pulling the dice to be rerolled off to the side. Let's see if they can add any hits with their aim token. And they add 1 crit. Alright, so 2 crits and 2 hits. Vader has 2 dodge tokens. Because deflect makes your dice better, the best option here is probably to spend 1 dodge token but not the other, keeping the other one for the purple squad, and then roll 3 red dice. That's what we see. Any surge here will deflect and kill a rebel. 2 surges, so 2 rebels will die, and Vader will take only 1 wound. Very strong roll from the Imperial player here. Vader still on 3 wounds and doing some damage to the rebels as he defends. And those are incorrect models to remove, I believe, because they will prevent this unit from getting cover, but oh well. So now we're going to see, have these players been using the game timer? They have not. I guess they maybe agreed not to. So we are now seeing, this game has been moving a fair bit slower than a lot of Legion games that I've played. Usually for me, I think this is going to prove to be a 1 to 2 hour game at the full 800 points. But this broadcast has gone for almost 2 hours now, and I think that we are on turn 3. So notionally that's halfway there. The turn limit is 6. In point of fact, it's actually going to resolve sooner than that, because we are seeing units get removed and each turn is taking faster. However, I do believe that as we see players get more experienced and play in person rather than on tabletop sim, which does kind of add to the time a bit, I do think that we're going to be seeing Legion ending up at a 1 to 2 hour game, which might sound long to any of you who are familiar with this from L5R, but to anyone who's familiar with Warhammer 40k, for instance, you know, that's a very different type of game. And Warhammer 40k games take substantially longer than that. A 1 hour 40k game at full points would be considered very rare. Often tournaments have like 2.5 hour point limits, and it's well understood that not all games will finish during that time. Vader doing a Saber Throw here. Interestingly, I don't think Vader moved up far enough. I would have moved up aggressively to try to get more units in his range too for that. I don't know why they rolled a save here. It's not relevant because the attack has Pierce, but I guess they removed the guy anyway, so it does not matter. So Vader's Saber Throw picking off a Rebel Trooper from the blue squad. So it does look like STABcast Ryan has not taken the opportunity to maximize his potential use of that Master of Evil card, which does give more of a chance to these rebels, as they are unlikely to get their whole flank suppressed there in the way that I think might have been possible. But it does also decrease their chance of taking down Vader, as this squad is going to have to move up to shoot him. This squad is now going to have to move up to shoot him rather than just standing still and aiming as he comes to them. So they are now in range. They're out of range too, so they won't get hit by that Master of Evil. They are going to they're going to just shoot, so that's going to be 6 white dice, 5 black dice. Vader does have a dodge for this. He has 3 wounds remaining. If he gets quite unlucky, this could kill him, but in all likelihood, he will survive. One dodge, but no cover. Let's see what happens. 3 hits here. Not a very lucky roll. So using that 1 dodge, Vader is only going to have to roll 2 dice. There's no way that he dies. Let's see if he can deflect and kill some of these rebels. Yep, 1 deflect and 1 save. The rebels lose a guy and Vader is untouched. We really are seeing kind of the strength of Vader here with those dodge tokens. When those dodge tokens are on him, he is very hard to kill. In fact, these rebels have taken substantial losses just by shooting him, and they've only managed to deal 2 wounds this turn. So I think Vader has done more wounds via deflect than the rebels have done shooting at him, though of course a wound on Vader represents substantially more points lost than a wound on a rebel trooper, given that 1/8 of a 200+ point model is a little bit more than a single wound on a 10-point model. So I think that's everyone has now activated. We'll see whether or not they think that this artillery is at the end of the turn. Nope, looks like they've just forgotten it completely. They're ending the turn. So forgetting Leia's artillery in this situation is like critically, desperately bad for the rebel player. I think he really needed that to stall the Imperials on the left side. So if he had had that artillery, he likely would have killed something like 2 to 3 Imperial troopers and put suppression on every Imperial squad on the left side. But he forgot that. Luckily, Vader's not maximizing his Master of Evil, so the whole rebel flank won't be suppressed, but enough of it might that it could be big. He's not even using Master of Evil. Wow. So it's a push from both players. Very surprising command cards being used here. It's possible he's trying to save Master of Evil for next turn, but I think Vader's going to die this turn. There are enough units there that can focus on him. So we see the roll to see who is going to go. It looks like the Imperials have once again won the equal command point roll-off and will be going first. So we're going to see probably Vader's going to move up there and do some damage to those rebels before much damage can be dealt to him. But I do think he's going to go down this turn after attacking the rebels. So my suspicion is and it looks like they can't activate the speeder bike because it's out of range. So I think my game plan for Imperials will be, try to do some damage and or stall the rebels more with Vader, while getting these units here overrunning the green troopers and hopefully Leia, though it's a little unlikely that I would get both. My game plan for the rebels is try to activate Leia early. She can probably kill the speeder bike leader on her own. Give dodge tokens. Yeah, so Leia could give dodge tokens to both of these and then shoot and hopefully kill the speeder bike leader. And then have these guys focus down Vader and then start pushing towards the Imperial deployment zone. This is turn 4. At the end of turn 6, the objectives will be done. So the players really do start having to think about actually getting their guys into the zone. I think currently it will take about 3 movements for these rebel troopers to enter the zone. And yeah, about 3 movements on both sides. So they have this turn and then 2 more turns, and the question is, are they going to be able to get enough units into the zone to beat the opponent? This is turning out to be a close game, I think in part because there have been perhaps some mistakes by both players, but it does look like Vader's going to move up and Saber Throw. Here, I think the plan here is simple. I think Vader's going to move up and Saber Throw, then he's going to take 2 dodges, and his goal is going to be, if he can live through this turn, he's such an obstacle to those rebels that he is probably going to prevent them from getting into the zone, especially because he will furthermore have his Master of Evil next turn to give him yet another dodge and inflict huge suppression. But we'll see whether or not that he can pull it off. Here comes the Saber Throw, probably on the purple guys since they're out of cover. All 3 hit, so that's 3 guys dead. Vader's Saber attack has Pierce 3. Pierce 3 means the first 3 successes on defense dice are ignored. It looks like he went for the red guys instead. That's actually wrong. The red guys are suppressed, so they have cover 1. They should only be losing 2 guys here, but 3 guys are removed instead. That's a rules mistake. Unless this is a new suppression that they just took from this attack. Maybe that's what it is. That would also make sense. That would also make sense in the... What is this? 3 black... Oh, okay, so Leia shoots the speeder bike and gets 3 hits. She ignores cover. So her... Oh, and she aimed. I think the aim was actually quite wrong here. It would have been better to dodge for both her and those guys. But she did take the aim, maybe trying to guarantee that. He has to roll 3 dice, and the first success is ignored. So he has to roll at least 2 successes. He rolls 1 success, but it's ignored. The speeder bike is taken down. So while Leia did manage to eliminate the bike, if she had used her take cover instead of an aim action, she would have provided substantially increased survivability to the 2 squads over there on that side. So I do think that would have been better. And maybe that red die, maybe the suppression here was added by Vader's Saber Throw, and I just didn't see it. I think that makes more sense. I do think it's possible the squad had cover 1 anyway, but, you know, I'll let them sort it out. I don't really remember what the other guys were anyway. If they didn't, it was the result of incorrect placement on the part of the Rebel player in all likelihood. It should have been pretty easy to give them cover there. But whatever, they may have been there for line of sight. Biggin says Saber Throw gave them a suppression. That makes sense. So we are seeing the yellow guys coming over here. And they are... probably going to engage those green troopers and try to wipe them out before they act. This is why I think it would have been really good for Leia to give a dodge to both units there, given that both of those units have the nimble ability. Nimble, after defending, if you spent 1 or more dodge tokens, gain 1 dodge token. That would have significantly increased their survivability against these troopers. And I do think that the Rebel player really needs Leia and those green troopers to try to survive. And even if they can't kill these Stormtroopers, maybe they can at least delay them to prevent that left flank from being overrun by Imperials getting into the Rebel deployment zone. But maybe these Stormtroopers are actually going to target the blue Rebels to try to take some pressure off of Vader. It does look like they're moving up and maybe measuring range for that. The blue Rebels would have 1 cover from their suppression, but that's it. The green Rebels would probably have cover too. The downside, though, is that if you can kill only 1 model from the green Rebels, you will eliminate their Z6 rotary blaster, which is 6 dice, and you really don't want them to have those 6 dice, I feel. Also, it does look... I don't know. How much suppression did that green unit have? Does anyone see? They still have 3, which I suspect means that Leia forgot to remove 2 suppression from them with her Inspire ability. After your rally step, remove up to 2 suppression tokens from other friendly units at range 1 to 2. So she could have removed 2 suppression from the green squad, and I suspect that was forgotten as well. But I could be wrong. It's possible they actually had 5 suppression on them last turn. I did not check. Biggin says that he would shoot blue. I would shoot blue myself with these guys. I think that because those Rebel troopers didn't get the dodge... I don't know, though. Removing that Z6 might be really nice. Checking range. They do have range. But yeah, the blue troopers are only in cover 1, and they are more of a threat in terms of actually scoring the objectives. It's possible that he's reasoning the green troopers won't be able to stop me no matter what, so I may as well just shoot the blue troopers and prevent his attack from being as successful. It is also true that if all 4 of the Rebel troopers squads here were to get in, they would sort of overrun the Imperials, even if all 3 of these Imperial squads get in. Here's the shooting. I don't know who the target is, but let's take a look at the dice. A little bit unfortunate there. 3 hits. That's Imperials do somewhere between 3 and 4 hits on average. Looks like he was shooting the blue squad since they only have cover 1, and 2 of them are felled. Would have been nice to shoot the green squad and kill the Z6, but killing 2 troopers there is going to eliminate the amount of firepower that can go into Vader. We have seen the Imperial player playing pretty conservatively with Vader, kind of holding him back, taking dodge tokens, and saber throwing instead of using melee. Normally Vader is kind of used as a melee beat stick, but in this situation, given the pretty open terrain and the number of Rebel trooper units there, I think it does make sense to kind of use the dodge action more proactively. Though I do think that it would have been good to move up with his previous action last turn and try to get more units in range, then pop Master of Evil this turn and demoralize those Rebels. So we're now seeing the green Rebel troopers getting activated. They could shoot at Vader, it looks like. Whoa, they're going to move? That seems wrong. Let's see how much suppression they clear. That's going to be 0. They still have 3 suppression, so only 1 action from these guys this turn. I think moving is almost certainly wrong, and they should definitely shoot. Technically, this is a violation of the league rules if they do anything other than move, taking out the movement template. Maybe the rules document was updated, but in the last version of the league rules that I saw, taking out the movement update, taking out the movement tool commits you to a movement action. However, it could be that that's not what they're doing. Yeah, it looks like they're going to shoot instead. That's okay. They may have hit that move button by mistake. I have had that happen sometimes. So 6, I don't know who their target is. It could be Vader, or it could be the green troop, or the yellow troops. They roll very well with 2 hits and 2 crits. 3 red dice coming out, so I suspect it's Vader. Could be wrong. Could be the yellow troops also. I guess they have light cover. 2 successes. So it's either a wound on Vader, or... Oh, no, it was actually the turquoise troops? So with the clarification, that unit should actually have heavy cover, but maybe they're not playing with that clarification. Or they've just decided among themselves that that bridge is not going to provide cover in that scenario. I thought that the Rebel Troopers did take heavy cover from that previously, but I could be wrong. That does also put a suppression on that squad, so let's see if they can clear it. 1 white die to clear suppression, rolling now. And it's a hit, so that unit does clear their suppression. That unit actually itself could aim and shoot the green guys and maybe finish them off. It looks like they're moving over there, probably trying to support Vader more, maybe put some more firepower. Maybe shoot some of the rebels that haven't activated on that side. In fact, if they were to shoot the red rebels, I don't know if the red rebels are in range of Leia, but if they're not, they could run away when they get activated with already 1 suppression on them. The blue rebels, I think, are in range of Leia, but have 3 suppression. They could also split fire and put some dice on red and some dice on blue, hoping to suppress both, and if they get real lucky, then both squads will run away. But that would require bad luck from the rebel player in terms of rolling his suppression clears. I don't know that all these guys have good line of sight, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on in terms of who's being shot at. Biggin says, I want to ensure Vader takes as little as possible and the other squads can clean up green. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a good strategy. That was in reference to the previous shooting attack against the blue squad, and I do think that's a pretty logical strategy here. So let's see what's going on next. Looks like they're changing their positions a bit for line of sight. That makes sense. The question is just who will the target be? All these squads, the yellow squad wouldn't have cover, but every other rebel squad would, including the purple guys, which might not look like they have cover, but it would trace through that area terrain. Looks like we're seeing the 2 red dice. No, everything's being shot at the same target. That's going to be 3 hits. Unclear who the target is. 2 saves being rolled. I guess it was the purple guys because they've taken a suppression, and then 2 purple guys are picked off. And all right, so the rebel attack over here is really losing some steam. They're taking a lot of losses. Several of those from Vader's deflect, and several others from shooting. But they are losing some steam. They are taking some suppression, and the Imperial attack over here, while it may have fewer units, 3 units instead of 4, does look like it's doing a little bit better. So we'll see whether the rebels can pull this one out, but I think it's looking a little grim for them at this time. So here we go. Looks like I would activate the red rebels here. Yeah, so the red rebels get activated. Let's see if they can clear their 1 suppression. No can do. Probably they're forced to just shoot Vader here then. It's necessary to kill Vader so that these squads can move up. Even though you would like to move them up and shoot, they only have 1 action, so I think you have to spend it on the shooting. I think Vader needs to die or else this attack is going to fail. So the question is, can these rebels bring down Vader? What? Oh, he accidentally removed his Z6 trooper model instead of one of the other ones, and his opponent is, I think, generously letting him swap that out, given that the Z6 is really the last trooper you want to lose, since he has much more firepower output. The Z6's 6 white dice will, on average, deal 1.5 results, and a normal trooper does 0.5, so the Z6 guy has 3 times the firepower of a normal trooper. And we see it demonstrated there with the Z6 guy alone scoring 3 hits. So 4 hits on, I suspect, Vader. Dodge token being used by Vader. He's got to roll 3 dice. If he rolls very unluckily here, he will actually die. but those surges are enabled for deflects, so the rebels are in danger as well. 3 red defense dice coming out for Vader. Let's see what he can do. 2 deflects and a block, no effect, and 2 rebels die. Vader is a boss here. So, yeah, this rebel push is really faltering in the face of Vader's deflect and the supporting fire from the Stormtroopers over here. All right. One of the players asked, I rolled 2 surges and a block, right? And I believe that is correct. I guess they were unclear on what exactly had happened, and they maybe cleared the dice a little too early. Let's see here. So we now have... Biggins13 says, this is Vader Down all over again. LOL. Yeah, Vader Down is a... I haven't read this myself, but I know what it is. Vader Down is a comic. It's a comic where Darth Vader is shot down and has to like fight and survive against a huge army of rebels, if I recall correctly. And I don't know the specifics, but spoiler alert, he doesn't get killed by the huge army of rebels. So we are indeed seeing Vader with minimal support confronting a lot of guys here. Though to be fair, the supporting fire from the guys over here has been fairly effective. And we might see them take out these blue guys as well. Apparently Vader kills the entire huge army of rebels, which is extremely stupid if you ask me, but that's, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's not canonical anymore. I don't know, it could be canonical. There's some really stupid stuff in the Star Wars lore. Like, in the old lore, Vader's right mechanical hand was, like, invincible. And it was, like, a legendary artifact. There's just, like, a bunch of really stupid stuff. But that's cool. Alright, so, looks like the blue troopers are getting shot. Only one of them lives. So the blue troopers have also lost their heavy weapon. Squads that lose their heavy weapon become vastly less relevant in terms of damage output. I think it's very unlikely to me at this point that the rebels are going to win this game. Their only hope is that the purple and yellow squads will be able to finish off Vader. But even then, the sheer number of stormtroopers is, I think, going to be insurmountable. So there are six stormtroopers. So there's 6, 12, 17, there's 21 stormtroopers on the board. And only 11 rebel troopers. So even if Vader dies here and no other Imperial units do anything this turn, I think 11 rebel troopers and Leia are not a match for almost twice that number of stormtroopers. Looks like that one random guy fired a shot at Vader or somebody and missed. Now those blue guys are getting activated. Let's see here. Alright, so now we're seeing those blue guys moving up and shooting. Not sure who their target is. Might be Leia, might be the green guys. Unsure. Looks like 5 results from them, so that's a pretty strong roll. Who's the target, though? That's the question. So from the perspective, I think the only one they can even see is Leia, so I guess they're shooting Leia. So Leia does have heavy cover from this, I believe, so she'll, I guess, have to roll 3 white defense dice. Really looking bad for the Rebels here. One die. I don't know why. Oh, it's... so Leia put 1 hit on that squad, which I think is incorrect, and then is going to take the other 2 herself. Luckily, the squad did save it. Leia takes 2 wounds. My philosophy is that you want to take wounds on multi-wound models before you want to lose models from single units, because every trooper that's lost is another die you won't be rolling, and every wound on Leia doesn't really do anything. Interestingly, it looks like they maybe erroneously only put 1 wound on Leia and left the other one over here. She did take 2 wounds from that attack, I believe, based on what the dice were. But maybe they just forgot to move the other wound marker. Alright, there's kind of a moment of truth here. Can these guys clear their suppression? They cannot, so they're probably going to just shoot Vader. The purple trooper's here with 2 black dice and 6 white dice. And they're gonna send those dice into Vader, inflicting only 3 results. That's actually about average for that size unit, maybe even a little bit above. So Vader is going to be able to use... The question is he going to use his dodge, or is he going to just roll 3 saves? Looks like he's just rolling the 3 saves. He could fail all these and die. He fails all of them and dies. Wow. It's really unfortunate that he chose not to use the dodge here. He was saving it for the bigger yellow unit, but he rolled 2 surges and a blank. If he had used that dodge token, those surges would have been deflects and killed Rebels, but he was saving it... He was saving it for the later attack, and that proved to be an unfortunate choice. That might have been a better decision in expectation, I'm not sure. But it certainly didn't lead to a good outcome here. So Vader is now out, but there are enough Imperials on the field. So this Imperial unit here has made the new commander. There are enough Stormtroopers still on the field that I'm not sure that killing Vader is going to bring the Rebels to victory. Though certainly it will at least be a moral victory, given the unfortunate situation that we were seeing over there for the Rebel attack. So even if the Rebels don't take this game, and I indeed think it's likely that they won't, at the very least, they did manage to take down Vader instead of having him just rip up all those squads. So let's see here. The yellow troopers are moving up and firing on those stormtroopers, it looks like. 6 white dice, 3 black dice. Let's see what they get. 5 results, again above average. I don't think the stormtroopers have cover here. At least 3 of them look to be totally open, so that should be 5 red dice for the stormtroopers on the bridge. An unlucky roll here could wipe them out as well. Nope, quite good roll. Only 1 stormtrooper there is removed. So we are seeing the benefits of the red defense dice here. In general, Imperial units have red defense dice for their infantry. The only Imperial units with white defense dice are their vehicles, and their vehicles do have the surges. Rebels have white defense dice on everything except for Luke. So we do see a suppression being removed there. There should be a suppression removed from this guy also. They may have not seen that, or maybe they have. Leia should also remove a suppression, but maybe she had 2 on her. This river is terrain. Maybe they forgot that as well. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Leia uses her No Time for Sorrows card, which allows a free speed 1 move. This is a very good card to use in this circumstance. She can use it on herself to give her a free move to move up and maybe get in range to provide her leadership bubble to these squads, prevent them from running, or to get within range to use her rally to clear suppression from them. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like there's the free move being taken by Leia. He does get to activate a trooper unit as well, and also take a free unit with them thanks to this card. This takes effect immediately when you're issued an order, not when you activate. So let's see here. Yeah, it looks like the free move for that blue trooper leader does get him into cover. So the objective is based on the number of trooper leaders you get into the zone. So keeping this blue trooper leader alive and this red trooper leader alive, if they get into the Imperial deployment zone, they're worth just as much for this objective as a full squad. So the Rebel player does kind of have a vested interest in keeping as many of his troopers up as possible, but with 3 suppression on that guy, I'm not sure how well he's going to do. This is turn 5. He doesn't need to be on the objective just yet. So he's going to move these Rebel troopers up and probably shoot the teal Stormtroopers with them. That's probably what I would do. And then next turn, he can hopefully move up twice and enter the objective zone. So shooting at the teal Stormtroopers. Three blacks, 6 whites, coming up with only 2 hits this time. Kind of lower side of the high variance in the Rebel Troopers, but we have been seeing some good rolls for them thus far. It does suppress the Stormtroopers, and they have to roll 2 saves. And both saves fail. Very lucky for the Rebels, even though it started off bad. That's going to eliminate that powerful DLT and leave the Stormtroopers with just a Sergeant, who is not all that likely to be a big impediment to these Rebels. However, if he picks off one of the lone Rebel Sergeants, it could prove quite important. Alright, Stormtroopers are moving up. So, Rebels do have one valuable kind of ace in the hole here, and that's Leia herself, who has quite a powerful shooting attack. It's possible that some combination of the Green Troopers and Leia, if they get lucky, could eliminate at least one of these Imperial squads. And then even if the other 2 squads do get in, maybe the Rebels can get 3 of their squads in and win by 1 point. So this game really is coming down to the wire, even though it looked quite bad for the Rebels earlier on. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Two red dice being rolled. Looks like a split fire, probably. Who is being shot at? Is it that guy? It is. It looks like that red, the red Rebel Trooper Sergeant is picked off, and maybe the other dice are on the blue Sergeant. I'm not sure. Trying to pick off those lone guys. 1 crit. It's going to force a save no matter who it's on. I think it might be on him. Let's see if he can live. No. Yeah, so those Stormtroopers managed to pick off both of the lone Rebel Trooper unit leaders. And this is really putting the Rebels into a tough position. They'll have to make both of these squads in and kill one of these Imperial squads in order to even tie the game. It is looking, it was quite lucky to be able to kill both those guys with the shooting there, given that one of them had cover 2, the other one had cover 1. But that was what they got, and thanks to that luck, it does look like it is going to give them more of a chance. Though I suppose if they had focused fire from these other units, it does continue to improve their odds. The question is, are we going to see the troopers act? I think you activate Leia here, remove the suppression from these troopers. But she really needs to remove suppression from the purple guys if she's in range. I guess she's not in range of them. So she'll remove both the suppression from the green troopers instead. And then she could aim and shoot, probably. I don't think it's worth dodging because you want them... no, she is going to dodge. I think that's actually a bit wrong. I think you need to aim and shoot here. I know I said the previous thing earlier, but I think you want these units to be what they're shooting at. You don't want them putting shots on those purple guys at this time. But, could be wrong. And so she'll probably be shooting at the yellow guys. She gets to ignore cover completely, and she has 3 black dice. And... if she's in range of the orange guys, she should shoot them instead, but I don't think she's going to be in range. Yeah, she's only in range of the yellow guys, so she should shoot at that squad. 3 black dice. The other thing is that it's possible that they could make these troopers panic. The trooper squad leader is not in cover here and will not remove a suppression. Only 1 hit from Leia, though, so 1 trooper will just die, since she does have Pierce, and it will inflict a suppression. I think that what happened there? Did they roll a save thinking that... Did they forget about Pierce? Did they forget that she ignores cover? Not sure what happened there. That 1 hit should be an automatic kill against those Stormtroopers. Since Leia ignores cover completely and has Pierce ignoring the first successful save, they shouldn't even have to roll, you just remove a guy. But it looks like they forgot at least part of those rules and no Stormtroopers were removed, which is a little unfortunate for the Rebel player. So, let's see here. Alright, 2 reds and 5 whites. That's the Stormtroopers shooting. Every single shot hits. Oh no, 1 shot misses. Getting a little bit of lag here, not sure what's going on. And 2 saves are made, but that's going to be enough to wipe out those rebels. So it's only Leia defending the objective. I think she's going to be unable to hold it. Her only option, I think, is to make this unit panic, which could happen pretty easily. So if Leia puts in... If they don't clear... I don't know. I think it's looking grim. I think the Imperials likely win this. If Leia puts another suppression on these Imperial troopers, they won't clear suppression because they're not touching cover with the squad leader. So if she puts another suppression on them before they attack, and then they don't clear either, they'll start panicking. Panicking units will run away, and I don't believe can claim the objective. So if that's true, that will... or maybe panicking units can claim the objective for this one. Yeah, actually, if they panic, I think they'll just run towards the deployment zone, and maybe they'll even be in it and still get it. I think it's only the one that you drop that doesn't get claimed by panicking models, but I might be wrong. I'd have to look that up in the rules. Let's see here. Purple Rebels are moving up. The Rebels do need these... they did clear their suppression there, which is lucky. I think they needed that. I'm not sure 2 moves will actually get these purple guys into the area. I think they may have to move again instead of shooting at that teal trooper leader. Oh, looks like they're going for the shots, though. Maybe they're hoping that the 2 moves will be sufficient to get them into the zone. I'm not sure they will be. But hopefully they can at least finish off that guy and prevent him from suppressing them. They get a hit and a crit. He does have 1 cover because he's suppressed, so he'll have to roll a save. And he makes the save, but that does put another suppression on him, so unless he can clear at least 1, he'll panic. Not really a good time for those Imperial troopers up there. We are getting some weird lag here, and I apologize to the viewers. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I think my computer may be having some heat issues here. Let me see if I can raise it up a bit. We'll use some of these random stones that I have lying here. See if I can maybe get some better heat distribution on this. I am streaming from a laptop computer, so at times we can get little heat issues. But hopefully this will solve it. We do see the orange rebel trooper, or the orange stormtroopers, moving in on that objective. I do think the stormtroopers are poised to overrun this objective here, with the rebels in a lot of trouble. But we'll have to see whether or not STABcast Ryan is the rebel player here, and we'll have to see whether or not he can pull off something impressive. Alright, so now we're seeing the 2 moves to get firmly into the deployment zone. The Imperials are on the board. They'll score 1 point once the game hits at the end of turn 6, unless and Leia cannot possibly wipe out those troopers. Her only hope is to make these... Yeah, I think this is actually over. I think even if she makes these troopers panic, they still move into the deployment zone with their panic move, and I think they still score the objective. I'm going to try to verify that. Alright, so we're looking at this situation. One advantage that the Rebels do have is that they have better command cards available. Darth Vader died with 2 of his command cards unused, and therefore we'll just never get a chance to use them. So we're seeing the Rebel assault against the Imperial standard orders. The Rebels will go first. And we're going to see what happens next. I do think the Imperials will take this, but let's see whether or not there's some reversal of fortunes here. And I am currently trying to verify whether or not panicking units can claim the objective in this scenario. I believe they can, but I am not certain. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't believe that a panicking unit is prevented from claiming objectives, so they would move here, likely move onto the objective, and that would be fine. We do see these rebel troopers are moving in, so that unit leader does get onto the objective. So the rebels will. I think he's really just fighting to see how many points he can score himself. The tiebreaker for this league is like margin of victory, so you do want to prevent your opponents from winning by many points. So if he can lose this game 2-3, that'll be better for him than if it's a little less close. But I do think this is grim, and unfortunately, I do think that forgetting that artillery strike from Leia is crucial for the Rebels here. Imagine if each of these squads had lost a man, and additionally 2 of them had been suppressed and were 1 move further back. That would be extremely significant for this situation. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be. And I guess to some extent it makes up for the extra shots that were taken from the Rebel unit over here against Vader. So here come the Stormtroopers, making it into the Rebel deployment zone easily, and probably going to shoot Leia as well. Leia should have 2 wounds on her. They still never moved that wound token over, so she is shown as only having 1. I do believe that's incorrect. I guess they didn't clear their suppression, so they only have one action, so they can't shoot Leia. My mistake. It was also wrong, I guess. Well, I guess he knew if they were falling back, they'd probably be on it. Anyway, so... only question now, I guess, is whether those purple troopers will make their 2 moves into the objective zone. I'm not actually sure if they can do it. I think they might be... I think it might be the case that those purple troopers are only in range for 1 move. Or are not quite going to be in range with 2 moves towards the objective zone, but maybe they'll make it. If they do make it, I think we're going to see a 2-3 win for Tezrial with the Imperials over STABcast Ryan's Rebels. Oh, Leia is... Wait, is this turn 5? I thought this was turn 6. I think they forgot to advance the turn counter, and this is turn 6. If this is actually turn 5, maybe Leia can make it into this zone. It's a 3-3 draw, and then the Rebels win because they killed more points? Assuming they can kill that guy? I don't think that's correct, though. I think this is turn 6. And therefore, I think Leia moving up doesn't really do anything. Also, those Imperial troopers should definitely move into the zone so as to ensure that they get as many points as possible at the end of this game. We do see them moving up, and they are going to take some shots at Leia. It does look like she'll have heavy cover from the bridge. Just look at all these Imperial troopers just hanging out here in the Rebel deployment zone. The Imperial attack has been very effective here. None of these squads, I think none of these squads have even taken a single loss, which really does go to show how well the Imperial plan came together. Their attack group against the objective made it in cleanly, and the rebel attackers are kind of battered and bruised, as fewer of them make it in, as did the Imperials. There is a silver lining there. It does look like the purple squad did manage to just barely make it into the zone. So that does mean that I think this game will conclude with the Rebels on 2 points and the Imperials on 3 points. So I believe that's it for the game. There may be something I'm missing, but I don't think so. I think all units have now activated. So I think the game will end here. As we know, the objective card is Breakthrough. At the end of the game, each player gains 1 victory token for each of their unit leaders within an enemy deployment zone. So we are going to see Rebels with the yellow squad unit leader and the purple squad unit leader surviving with 2 points, but the yellow, blue, and orange Imperial Stormtroopers have all made it into the zone. So we are going to see, I believe, 3-2, and that will be the game. I'm not sure what's going on here. I think this guy's already activated. I don't know why they're rolling. Oh, he was panicking, I guess. So he panics again since he has 2 suppression, and he runs off the board. I don't... Okay, yeah, so that the teal Stormtrooper leader runs off the board. So what we ended up seeing was indeed kind of what I had talked about earlier, where each side gets through on their own side, but the Rebels did that with only a few survivors. Not all their squads over there made it. The Imperials kept these squads alive and made it in, so we are going to see, I believe, an Imperial victory with 3-2. All right. And so looking at the other side of the board, you know, we see from the Imperial perspective, their zone is wide open. If there were one more turn, maybe Leia would make it in herself, but I don't believe there is one more turn. I believe that was turn 6. And if it were 3-3, the Rebels would have killed the very expensive Darth Vader, so he would be 235 points. They would have killed this Stormtrooper, and they would have killed two full Stormtrooper units, the bikes, and a small Stormtrooper unit. But the Imperials would have killed 3 ATRTs and 2 full Rebel Trooper units. No, I think they killed a third one. The green Rebel Troopers got wiped out. Yeah, and 3 Rebel Trooper units. So I don't know who would have been on points, but I do think that is the game. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing. Maybe this is only turn 5? I don't know. There are only 5 cards here, but I think they used standing orders on turn 1. So that would put them at 6 in total. Yeah, and I think these Rebels have 5 command cards here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and I believe they used standing orders on turn 1, so 6 command cards have been played. This is turn 6. The game should be over. Not entirely sure what they're still doing here. Yeah, Biggins13 suggests that it's maybe just a post-game talk. Yeah, let's go with that. So I'm going to probably close up the stream now, and I'm going to stay observing for a little bit just in case they do think that it is turn 5 and want to ask me or something. But that was a Star Wars Legion game. Apologies for the kind of slower game. This was definitely not the pace at which I expect these games to be going later on, but Tabletop Simulator can be a little clunky at times, even with this excellent plugin. And both armies did field a large number of infantry, where just moving infantry is well known in miniatures games to be one of the more time-consuming things, especially if individual models have to be placed for line of sight and that sort of thing. So thank you guys for watching. I am going to be uploading this video onto YouTube, where people can watch it at an accelerated pace if necessary. And I am hoping to stream more Star Wars Legion content later on, as well as more L5R content later on. So stay tuned for more streams, and thanks to you guys for watching. Later, guys.